Well, welcome to another rip-roaring edition of your number one rugby league show, the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. As always, it's hosted by myself, Mick the Game Caller Gledel, Craig, Show Me the Money Harrison, and in the middle, he's King Canute this afternoon. It is Joe Me. Good afternoon, gentlemen. We've taken the show outside because the studio was absolutely boiling. So we're enjoying the lovely, resplendent views. Clear blue skies of North Yorkshire. So we're at
the moment, I think Sam's looking straight into haystacks. So I need it that way.
But yeah, we've decided to bring the show outside, so we're giving you a bit of a summer a vibe to it. First of all, before we start, congratulations to everybody, including ourselves. We're up to 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, please, bear with us. We're back. And like you say, the content is going to keep coming. So if you want to keep sharing the link and sharing the podcasts, the more the merrier. But yeah, we wouldn't have got here without you lovely people. So long may that continue. Right, we've had a lot of questions coming in, Craig. Before we talk about the questions, because we're going to go through every question what you lovely people have sent in, be it on Facebook, on YouTube or Twitter. It was the men's internationals and the women's internationals and of course the wheelchair international at the weekend, Craig. England 18, the combined nation all-stars 4. The women had a fantastic result against France by 36 points to 10. And obviously England wheelchair, a bit of a ding-dong, that real thriller there in Manchester at the Basketball Centre by 62 points to 48. We'll start with the men's, because obviously that's where there's going to be a lot of focus on. 18 points to 4, Craig. Give us your thoughts on that game in Warrington.
Just, by the way, we've just finished our breakfast. I'm just looking at these crumbs as well. That's come out of Mick's teeth when he were eating his footy. Right, Mick, let me give me an honest opinion. Do I think it were a good game? I think it were competitive. I think that the D and the defence were great. I think it shows you exactly where Shaun Wane's going. I think Shaun Wane is he'll look to recruit people who are going to defend tough, who are going to be aggressive. And I think you've had a sign of things to come. Offensively, not for me, but both teams don't have a lot of time to put together a lot of play. I spoke to Ellery yesterday morning. David Lloyd, the Pearl, were just coming through with the white tracksuit on, looked immaculate. It looks like he could still play as he did on the day. And I think it's been tough for him. I think they've had to put a team together. I think certain clubs wasn't brilliant giving the players, Mick. I think a lot of them booked holidays. So when their organisation were going off, I think if Ellery had picked a team based on what were available, it'd been totally different to the one that was there on the day. So it wasn't a true reflection. But the end result is, did Shaun Wane get a competitive hit out? Yes, he did. He got a real determined. And I thought they all dug in. They've all had a right effort. But I think Shaun's, you've seen, Mick, what's coming. I tell you now, I'm looking at some positions and I'm looking and thinking, there were 4 ruckers on show.
Correct. 4
ruckers. There were Daz Clark, Paul McShane, Mickey McCorum,
Cruz Leeman. We're
biased on this show. We don't. I'm biased anyway. I can hold made up. Paul McShane's been one of my favourite friends and players. I don't think that were the best of Paul. I thought Paul, it were only the last quarter of an hour. I thought he got some rhythm in his play. Maybe that's because he's coming off the bench. Paul likes to start. He's got to get his head round that. I thought Daz were okay without being really effective. I thought Mickey D'd up, which is what Shaun likes, that aggression. But I've got to give him it. I thought Cruz was the most effective player on the day, energy-wise. And that's like tossing one into the thing for the World Cup. I think Shaun will go with Mickey, and I think he'll go with Paul. I think that's his 2. I think he's already made his mind up. Even though I think he'd be disappointed, I think he knows there's loads more out of Paul. What other questions were answered, Mick? Ryan Hall. I think Ryan Hall secured his place in the World Cup starting. That's for me. I think physically, Ryan's physicality. He's lost a yard of pace, Ryan. But his physicality and his absolute genius as a player, he's just... We used to say the best winger in the world. He's probably not the best winger in the world now. You'd probably say that he's 10. He's probably still top 2 wingers in our comp, in my humble opinion. I'd be interested with Tommy Makinson. I thought he was fantastic and he runs his collision and he looks so lively, but he's going to have to be physical against the Samoans that were first couple of games, the Australians, if we get the Tongans. It's going to be a battle of, you need at least 4 wingers, Mick, for me, or maybe, but I'm going to throw one in. Jake Wardle, I thought, were absolutely sensational for his debut. He'd already be in mine. I'd have to fit him in whether I get centre or wing. For me, that lad, because of his athleticism, you're going to need it. He'd be the one, I'd say, guaranteed. Who were the other centre?
Calum.
I thought Calum was fantastic. I thought Callum Watkins had one of his best games for 3 or 4 years. Physical-wise, Callum looks absolutely on the button. Maybe he ain't got that ba-bang gone, but I tell you what, he defends. Shaun Wane will like that, Callum, more than the one we loved at Leeds.
Yeah.
You know, we used to watch Leeds, used to watch him at 17, he was that. I reckon this version of Calum is what Shaun Wane would love. Did we get answered, Mick? Did we get answered at back row?
Well, we saw a very, very, very strong performance, man of the match performance from John Bateman.
I thought John Bateman was the best game he's played in 4 years.
Roll back the years. I mean,
awesome, John, wasn't it?
The break, the vision, you know, to see the space and go through the gap to set up the try for George Williams. Like I say, it was like watching, you know, a John Bateman from 4 or 5 years ago, pre, you know, his stint with Canberra in the NRL.
I completely agree. My thing with John is he played a lot more loose than he did back row. You've got Morgan Smithers to come in, I think. You've got Morgan Knowles to come in, I definitely think. Mike McGeechan, I'm going to tick him off my box. He can have the cap for the selection.
Yeah.
Now my forwards. I'm looking at my forwards. Or shall I look? I'll look at 6 and 7. George will play because Sean's been with him since he's been a kid. He understands what he does. He can defend for an half and he can run a ball. Has he got the other instruments? Probably not to pick the pass out. Has he got the short and long kicking game? Probably not. I think he'll go with him, and I think Johnny Lomax. We said that. Johnny didn't play on the day, but I think he will go with him.
He was asked a question, interestingly, in the post-match press conference about Jackson Hastings, and he didn't deny it, but yeah, if you watch it back, there's a bit of hesitancy in his answer, so I do feel you potentially could still see Jackson Hastings in there come World Cup time.
Right, so then you'd play, if you played him with George, because he will play George,
yeah.
Right, well, I'm still on, and I think, physical-wise, Wellesby's got to play. I just think he's a complete competitor. I think he's a big unit. I think he's angry when he plays. He wants to play to win. He's not playing to lose. He's playing every game to win. Probably what we need. And I think he'd scare people with that running game he's got. He's not got the pick in the pass, but he's definitely got a better short game than he had. So I think that one's there. And then the pack. Walmsley's Walmsley. I didn't think he was his most effective. I think he looks a little bit off it. I'd like a bit more. I think Big Mick can do a bit more. I didn't think I wanted Mick to go in there and be best prop on pitch. I think he were all right. But I think there's got to be more to come. The other two who came on, who did they swap them over? Mick came on and Walmsley. The starting props were. You've got the paper in front of you.
Yeah.
Sorry about this. It's very unprofessional to make this.
No. I was just ready to put a counter argument in saying that. Obviously, what do you call it? Matty Lees, Joe Batchelor, Mikael Ledsky, Mike Cooper, of course, Warrington.
Yeah.
The point I was going to make is obviously in our team we had Luke Thompson and Tom Burgess, so they will be there come World Cup time. So I didn't want to spend too much time focusing on props when.
But I want to give people an opinion.
No, I agree.
People
I agree.
might want Mike Cooper in the team.
Fair enough.
I didn't
I
think
agree.
Mike did enough.
No.
In that,
he wouldn't get a tick.
But good on him. Good on Mike for bringing a bit of form after his Warrington. It's not been great for him there for whatever reasons, but he actually came in. I think Matty Lees were effective. So he's put a marker down, Matty Lees. So you're looking at that. And like you said, there's probably 6 players going to come in, Mick, who didn't play. Let's say 6 or 8 at most. So them lads who played there, if you eliminated some based on what you saw and what you've seen this season, I'll ask you both to be pretty honest here. Who could you eliminate now from that squad? By the way, this is only your opinion, so people don't. I'm going to say this for everybody out there. When lads are giving opinions, don't shoot them. It's people. This is what the show's about. It's about opinions. And it's about people having good views. So, who can we eliminate based on the form of this year and based on what you saw?
Well, I'll be controversial.
Well, that's not like you.
I've got no place for Paul McShane.
Excuse me,
Craig. I'm not doing this to be controversial. To
your
get
arguments on current form,
Craig, when we did our England show, everybody, I got outvoted 3-1 because you all went with Paul. I was saying Cruz based on current form, and I'm so glad Cruz leaving. To me, standout player for the Combined Nations on Saturday night, and for me, Mr. Wade's got a very difficult decision to make now because, like you say, Michael McClelland played well. We saw a little bit from Clarkey, but I know what you're saying with Paul not having his best game, and obviously England, I believe they're going to have one more friendly against Fiji at Rochdale Spotland Stadium to celebrate the centenary of Rochdale. That was a chance for Paul to shine, and I get where you're coming from, Craig. He likes to start the game.
It's all about opinions.
He's come off the bench, which may not have suited his sort of playing style. But, from what I saw from Cruz Lehman, Craig, wow.
Joe?
That's just one. If we're talking about eliminating one player, and sorry, Paul, I'm not just saying this for argument's sake. I just feel Cruz Lehman offers a hell of a lot more energy. He'll do more minutes.
I don't think he will, but anyway.
I'm not saying that to upset you, Craig.
I love it. That's what it's all about. I love it. Don't you ever stop not putting,
No.
For me, obviously they put Wellesby at half, didn't they? Wellesby played half for the game. So I think based on that, I think Tompkins would be gone for me. I think you'd have Wellesby.
That's a big call, getting rid of the captain.
Great call, though. Brave call.
Brave call,
like it or not, it's still a brave call.
No, I agree, Joe.
I think on Wellesby's performance, he played half. I thought he played brilliant, competed. I think he has a better short game than probably you're giving credit for. I think he's brilliant. I love watching Wellesby. I love him. He's hard running. It reminds me of a lot of the when I watch the NRL. It just reminds me of the way the Aussies play. Just run at you, attack you, and they play hard and they play powerful. Yeah. And I think he needs to be England's fullback. So I don't know whether you maybe slot Tompkins in elsewhere or what you do, but I think based on that performance, Tompkins looks not as lively as he obviously once was. I think Tompkins at his best were by far one of our best players we've seen over the last 6-7 years.
Fair comment.
But I think it's Jack Wellesby's time to lead the nation, and I think he is that player.
Especially if he's going to be, Lomax will be fit, and potentially Hastings as a wild card. Wellesby's. You're not going to carry baggage, Harry. Wellesby, not play him. It'd have to be starting fullback.
Interesting, because I think the most important position we're going to get right, apart from the 6 and 7. Which has got to get right, would be the back row and maybe the centres. And I'm looking at, because that's where the Aussies will be physical around the edges.
Correct.
This is what they're basing the game on. New Zealand will be big, Samoa, Tonga, and Fiji. They're all going to be there, the edges. So we've got to have physicality. If we go Farrell and McGeechan, we go Calum and Makinson. No, not Makinson. Percival. Let's say Percival. Makinson's a winger. So if we go that 4, I don't think we're physical enough to compete against the top 2 or 3 teams. In my opinion, I think Tonga, New Zealand and Australia would be too physical for us.
Correct.
If we don't find the answer to them positions. And that's not against anybody. That's just me saying, how do we find size and power against the type of edge you're going to be facing in that game? And that's what worries me more than anything, Mick.
I agree. I mean, we all saw I think it was about 3 or 4 minutes ago when Makinson tracked back and was it Reece Martin, stopped him from scoring, fantastic tackle. We know Makinson can do it, we know Ryan can do it. Valid point on the centres. I mean, obviously, we went with Harry Newman and Shanley in our, show me the money, Rugby League TV, full 80 minutes England team. But obviously, Jake Wardle and Callum Watkins were with the centres on Saturday night, and you've got to be honest, Craig, when you're coming up against, your Tonga, your New Zealand, your Australia, it is going to be a very tough task.
For people who are just joining the show or just watching rugby league as a newcomer, what we're trying to tell you on the physical, if you don't watch the NRL, if you do, take for instance the winger at Lee, who's just joined.
Blake Ferguson.
Blake Ferguson's probably 3 to 4 years out of being the Blake Ferguson who was an international.
Correct.
But if you put Blake Ferguson again in that game, that's the type of physicality, but a faster and a younger version of what you're going to face.
Correct.
And our problem is I don't know how. I actually think Blake could ruin people now 95%.
Craig, you know
what
my thoughts. I'd have loved to have seen Blake play on.
What would have happened 5 years ago?
Well,
yeah.
And that's your problem. We historically, we've been getting players come over here who haven't made it in the NRL. That's what's happened since the cap changed. The Australian cap got bigger, we've got smaller. So the New Zealand and all, we've been getting that. The days of us getting a top in the prime international will never happen again, in my opinion, unless IMG come on and change the world. So just to give you an idea, if you think Blake Ferguson and go watch him next week is whatever he is, I know it's the championship and people sometimes deride that, but your problem is physical-wise, Mickey's 6'4", he's 106 kilos, he can probably do 11 seconds, 100 metres, and he's got a props carry. And he's also got them hands, he can pick a ball. And I'm thinking, if you ask the NRL now to pick Blake Ferguson in international for Australia at wing, would he be in the top 25 wingers in Australia?
100%.
Not.
You don't think he would?
No, he wouldn't be, well, the top 25, I think he would. He wouldn't be in the top 10. He wouldn't be in the top 15.
No. The joys of filming outside. Well, maybe 25 is probably...
That's what I think it's amazing. I'm just saying to you, if you picked an Australia side now, and I don't think anybody...
He wouldn't be in the top 10, 15.
You could get an Australian journalist on now or a player and put, where would it be? They'd probably say it'd be here. Yeah. So that's your that, and the physicalness absolutely terrifies me. That's me. That's the one thing. If they come over, Mick, and they're all in the mood to play, and I tell you what, I'm not going to quote him. It's not fair for me to tell me who said this, but I met somebody else yesterday, and he said to me, beware of Samoa. And I said, what do you mean? No, I didn't know we had Samoa in our... Is it first game?
Yes, first game at Newcastle, St James's Park, yeah.
He says, and I let him word it as he did, but he said, the first 2 or 3 weeks, the Samoa lads will be well up for it. He said, after that, the camp gets a lot older, and they might go out for a beer, and and a bit of crack, and start enjoying the trip. But he said, you do not want to face Samoa with the team that's been selected, what we're hearing, going to be selected. And that's based on...
Well, I think Samoa could have... If they don't get picked, if I'm thinking of the right country here, but if they don't get picked, it could be... Well, Jerome Luai will get picked in Australia, you'll imagine, but it could be Jerome, it could be Brian Toto, it could be Stephen Crichton. So if for some reason they don't get picked, it could be...
Mick, if Samoa beat us on the first game, when do we play the Aussies or the New Zealand? Sorry, give us our fixture list. Build us up, Mick.
We play Samoa on Saturday the 15th of October at St James's Park. We've then got France, and then we've got Greece. And then we're straight in.
Top 2?
Yeah, the top 2.
Right, so we should be through.
Yes, but like I say, it was interesting because I was reading about Samoa, and I totally forgot that Richard Agar's the assistant coach.
Yeah.
I was surprised because I saw something and I thought it had completely trapped my mind. Richard's going out for the Samoa game this weekend, and I'm like, what? And then it re-jogged. But you look at that. You look at the Samoa squad to face the Cook Islands this weekend, and like you say, Charlie Staines. You're looking at Anthony Milford, Harris Tavita, no Faluma, Francis Molo, Jackson Paulo,
Isaac Tegau,
Luciana Lalua from North Queensland Cowboys, Martin Tapau. You're just looking at some of these players and you're just wow. These are established NRL players. And it's interesting when you look at like the player pool over here who can play for him. You can throw in Ricky Latelli, Tommy Luluai, Tim Lafayette, Salford, Sam Cassiano could play for him. But like I say, I think predominantly what Matt Parrish and Richard Agar are going to do is they're going to heavily on the NRL. But, listen, look, that game at St James's Park, Craig, that is not a given. That is not a given. And the importance of that game ultimately will be, who do we play in the semi-finals? Is it going to be Australia or New Zealand?
So if we finish second, we play the winner of the other group.
Basically, if England beats Samoa
Yeah.
and the other results go to form, we'll play New Zealand in the semi-finals. If we lose, it'll be Australia.
Got you.
And like it's happened many, many times.
So there's no quarterfinals.
Yes.
What we got in the quarterfinal then?
I haven't worked that far out, Craig, but I'm on the basis that England would win the quarter-final and they'd go into the semis.
Right. We'll do that at a later date. We'll try and bring it to you, and we'll put a load of scenarios.
But look, the pleasing thing for England is...
But hay fever, Mick.
Well, it's the sunshine, yeah, I'll be fine, don't worry.
Like a vampire, isn't he?
I'll be fine. But the pleasing thing for England is, Craig, out of that initial 20-man squad, there's some headaches, and that's good. I mean, like Calum Watkins, he's not even been playing centre for Salford this year, has he? And he's slotted in there alongside Makinson. And like you said, the pleasing thing for me was that defence. You could see the system in that defensive system, which is hopefully going to keep Australia, New Zealand and Samoa to potentially a couple of tries. I know...
No.
You don't think...
Not gonna happen.
You don't think it won't? No, well,
that we saw are going to keep Australia to...
No, but that's what I'm saying. He's wanting from his side.
Listen, Wane at end of game, the way he celebrated the thing was telling he was happy.
Yes,
he was
correct.
happy because Wane is a bit like Ellery. The least points they concede, the happier they are. So if you don't, Ellery once said to me, I didn't get it. He's probably took me to now to get it. I still probably don't get it, if I'll be honest. El said the most rewarding game ever when he coached, I think, Sate to win a grand final by like 2 points.
Correct, yeah, 8 points to 6 against Bradford in 1999, yeah.
And El thought that was the greatest game of passion and defence.
He said defence wins games.
That's it. And I think Wane, it's same if you win New Zealand 8-6, I think Wane it would be like, other than winning
I agree.
32-24, I think he'd take that. Whereas us as the connoisseurs, I wanted to see some football. And I didn't see a lot. If I'll be honest, I've got to be honest.
No, the attacking structures were very, very flat.
They've not had time.
Yeah.
They've not had time to do that, and I'm not going to judge any of them. But for me, do you know the famous one when I went to Wembley when not Benji Marshall, Sean Johnson scored in that last 2 minutes? I can have been halfway.
Yeah, the 2013 semi-final.
Yeah, I was there, and I'm really among it, and the crowd.
I was heartbroken, Craig. It took me a week to get over that.
Yeah,
seriously.
Well, that's the same as your booze cruise at Toulouse. It's if you. I watched that, and it was the same thing. You're thinking, please open up, please play. I think at times that was always going to happen to us.
Yeah.
It's a bit like England football in the way, innit? You sit there, you think, we're going to get beat. We're going to get beat by penalties. We get beat by penalties. That game, I never thought we were going to win, Mick. I thought they're going to score it last 2 minutes because they were getting it to players who were going to play and just take the shackles off.
Yeah.
I'd love to see once for England, and I don't know how many times I've said it. I'm going to be honest. When Sean Long had that fight with Willie Mason and JP put the fight on, we threw that try was unbelievable, wasn't it? And we threw it everywhere, and it was so exciting, and we had a man short, we won the game. When was the last time we seen England play with any abundance of let's play? Have you seen it in your...
Long time.
Truthfully?
Probably, if we're talking about England, without being too disrespectful, I didn't see much in 2008 in the World Cup. 2013, again, didn't really see much. I know there was all the Zach Hardacre issues, and there was a bit of trouble in the England camp with players being sent home, as we know. Probably 2006 in the Tri-Nations, when you had Sean Long, Paul Wellens, Gareth Rayner scoring at the Sydney Football Stadium.
I think I went to Huddersfield and Sculthorpe had a right game that day.
Yeah, 2006, yeah.
That's a sad indictment if we're a
I think coaches too much on structure, Craig. Too much on that structure and straight down the middle. Keep it tight. Let's not risk.
We can't out Aussie, can we?
No.
It's impossible.
Not like that.
They'll be.
We saw it in the last World Cup
15
final.
stone heavier.
Yeah, we saw it in the last
squad.
World Cup final. Pound for pound, we can match them for 60 minutes. That I am absolutely confident of. Unfortunately, the superior fitness levels. No disrespect to any of the England players. We know the NRL's a different breed. Past World Cup Challenge results have dictated that when they're on form. But look, for 60 minutes, I'm confident against New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa, even Australia. That England team is going to go pound for pound. My worry is they can't match that intensity for the full 80 minutes.
Do you know what? We look at one area, which I think we'll wrap it up on this, but we want to see somebody who can do something different. I do anyway. That's my personal choice of contact at Rugby League. And I want to see one person either starting or coming off bench for England where I go, wow, we've got a chance now. We're in the trenches, New Zealand, it's 20 all, and we've got this player who we know if he gets enough space, he's going to win the game. I'm biased, Mick, again. It's a show me money show.
No, I agree.
And I'm going to challenge him. I'm going to challenge him. And I think Truman's got the capabilities in the locker to become that player this time round. Now, 22, I'm looking at him thinking, he's such an introverted lad and a lovely lad who probably doesn't want to be do you get me? But I'm going to challenge him and say, Troy, it's there for you. There's a chance here. If he went on a run of games now for Cass and he goes to first receiver and dominates them games with it, and people see that. Do you know how many players talk about Troy and people find it a myth? So you get other people who say, I've never seen that. But people who played with him go, mate, you've never seen Troy. If we've had it on show and people comment and they go, well, we've never seen that. We've got to see it because he'd be my one pick where I go, get him in and let's have something different. I know Joe likes Jake Connor, and he'd be your Maverick pick. Go on, I'll let you use.
Yeah, I think what I know exactly what you described. On current form, you've got to go Connor, haven't you? I know he's got his things. He might be a bit lazy in defence. You open a World Cup, you know what I mean? He might straighten that up. But I think based on current form and the criteria you just described, there's one name and it's Jake Connor who can provide an assist by doing something you can't believe. He's got so many facets to his game in attack where if you put him on, give him enough space. Obviously, I put him at half, so he might not have that. If you get him on at full-back off the bench...
He did it at centre against New Zealand, didn't he, last minute? Was it New Zealand, Mick, or Australia, when he pulled him apart a couple of years ago?
Exactly, and that's what Jake Connor can do. He will give you lazy bits of defence. He'll give you a bit of attitude. He'll probably start up an argument. Whether we think we can handle the New Zealand and Aussies anymore, different question, but that he will do that. But then he can also pull off some magic that I've not seen from anyone else really this season.
And Mick, obviously, you can't say Dick Patton or Jordan Lilly. This is international. And I thought you were going to do your bias on Bradford, but where's your Maverick? Not against the lads, by the way. We're just winding Mick up. Who's your game breaker, Mick?
Well, if you know what, I hear what you're saying about Truman. I can't see him go. If we're being realistic, I mean, like you say, if we're talking 20 points each, Craig,
Mikey Lewis.
I was going to say, I was going to say, Mikey. I watched him that try he scored when he was on loan at York against Widnes, where he just chipped over the top, regathered, and in just a moment of magic like that game changed.
Well, you can say
and that's what you want. You want
finals. Of the Super League last year.
Yeah, that's what you want.
I want to throw with players.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
what I was going to say.
Chewy,
You want someone young, someone who's a little bit raw, someone who's a little bit edgy.
Dodsy'd have been perfect. Lewis would have been
someone who's not afraid.
The feet and the man's and confidence.
I would have Lewis coming off the bench and having
because basically, Craig, like you're saying, you need somebody who's not going to atone to a set structure. Because if it's play what you see, 20 points apiece, there's 8 minutes left. You can see a Mikey Lewis, you can see a Truman doing some magic like that, some mercurial magic.
Tom Johnson, would he be one? Where you think, could he go? He's done more full lengths than any player in Super League in the last 5 years. But is he a player who could just suddenly bang and does smart nothing?
I don't think we can compete on that front with the Aussies. I think that I could be miles off, but I think on that front of just pure speed and athleticism, pulling off something like that, what they have Turbo Tom, that fullback purveying.
I don't think Turbo Tom. They reckon Jake Wardle, was 10 points more on GPS. They reckon he's absolutely.
Well, look, Jake Wardle.
He's supposed to be really, really rapid. I know Innes is fast. Innes for 10 points something, and I'm sure he said that Jake did a record a time that was as fast as any Australian player.
Wow.
I mean, quote me on that.
You'll have to, ask Mr. Fuelis to confirm or deny.
This season, have we? But yeah, if that comes out, fair play to him. That'd be amazing. I apologise if that's the case.
Well, that was England and the Combined Nation All-Stars. There was a couple of questions on that, if we can just kind of finish. I can't find the comment, but the comment basically was, without being too negative, only 9,000 people there, and it was the weekend that the Super League, Championship and League One didn't play. Yes, that is International Rugby League in the gutter for mine. I don't want to be too negative on it. The RFL.
You said gutter.
The RFL. No, I'm just saying, Craig, I don't want to be too negative and focus too much time on it. But the RFL have got a very difficult sell. Like you've just said, we were on a press call with Ellery. Ellery's saying it 16, 17 players have pulled out. So, when you've got the Combined Nation All-Stars preparations all going to cock, basically, you've got a situation where people can't buy into it because you don't know who's playing. And I won't be critical of the media, but, when Ellery's talking about that, I know it's news and story, but making it out as exclusives or exclusive, Ellery's struggling to pick a team, that's not going to get people to pay the money because it just comes across as Tin Pot and a Mickey Mouse kind of international, which it might be a little bit harsh.
I'd have a little Tri-Nations, Mick. I'd throw England Knights in there and let them play a 3-ball. I'd like to see everybody play each other. No final.
Correct.
But I think England Knights, if you went exiles, and then you shouldn't have Daz Clark and Cruz and then play for exiles. For me, that I don't understand it. I'd love Carl Hall's views on it. Yeah. He's the boss of this. But I don't know why they'd be told to play the England players in the exiles. It just doesn't make sense. Play an England Knights team, Mick, and play three fixtures. So England could play Knights, they could play exiles. The exiles and Knights don't have to play each other. But England could have 2 games.
Yeah.
The England Knights, you'd have Daz Clark and Cruz in the England Knights. You'd have your Toby Kings, maybe your Jake Trumans, maybe your Mikey Lewises.
Correct.
Why don't we do that? That, to me, seems common sense. And then let the exiles pick. Put the dates early, Mick. Put the dates for next year now. And say to all the players, do not book holidays.
Yeah.
We think you're going to be picked. Get to know who's coming over next year and get an email out and say, do you fancy playing the exiles game next June? It's going to be a 2-thingy series. England, we've got to get Summit, Mick. IMG, if you're watching, consistent into the fixture list. And play the Knights and play the exiles and get England 2 games mid-season. And they can do it, Mick. There's enough players to do that 1,000 times over and give everyone a proper dig and tell the guys, email every player through the RFL, Mick, and say, don't book your holidays on this week off because some of you are going to be selected to play. Every player wants to play, Mick. Don't get this wrong. If you want to go on holiday other than play for your country or play for exiles, probably because they didn't know they were going to get picked.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of people wouldn't play.
No, I understand that.
We can't dress that game up and get 20,000 at Headingley or at Warrington or at St. until we do that. We book it early, we make sure the dates are down, and what we do then, Mick, is what we're very good at the moment at this show, is then get it out there and get everybody buzzing about who's playing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You said something last week and it stayed with me. I don't know if one of you said it. Probably Jimmy, because it were intelligent. We were all buzzing about Blake Ferguson. I think it was you, Mick, actually.
It was me, yeah.
And I went like, God, why don't they sell it on back of that?
Exactly.
Why? They would have got what? You know what I mean? Everyone wants to see Blake Ferguson v Ryan Hall.
Look, Warrington's not far from Lee. You know, I'm not saying you're going to suddenly get 2,000 Lee fans turning up, but you would get. If Blake Ferguson plays in that game, you're getting a few more through the doors. But on the flip side of it, Derek don't want his star player getting injured in a nothing game.
But then we need to put some insurance cover in. We need to put.
I agree.
Are we struggling this morning? You two are both yawning. We started early. I'm looking at.
I'm not yawning. I'm full of energy. I'm full of energy.
Just looking at me going, we need more off these guys this morning.
I'm fine.
Very low key.
I'm
not
fine. Don't worry. We got the Bradford questions going on. Get me going. I'm joking.
There you go.
Right. Once again, thank you for everybody who sent in messages. We'll go through as many as we can, and then we'll focus on what else is happening in the sport of rugby league. Pete Wood, I think he's a Halifax fan, says, Craig, Mick and Joe, love the show. With limited funding in the Championship and League One, plus stagnant attendances, how reliant are clubs on other revenue streams and sponsorship deals, and how sustainable are they? Look, Pete, I'll answer this quickly because I speak to a lot of... You'll be able to answer this as well, Jokes. We both speak to Championship and League One a lot.
What are you trying to say I don't?
No.
I'm not a big shot now.
Craig, you can answer the question as well. What I will say is this. Since this year, when the Championship and League One clubs have had to absorb the reduction in broadcast revenues, so we know the Sky deal was £16 million less. We know clubs like Bradford, London, Widnes, York, Whitehaven, Workington, they've lost effectively between 40 and 60%. Obviously, some get more than others, and that's based on the RFL's return on investment pillars, which obviously factor in our league subscribers, social media metrics, crowds, attendances. For every pound the RFL give that club, how much money does that make the sport? And I think that's the right way to go. I think with realignment, it'll happen with the restructuring, remodelling. I think that's the way it has to happen when we go to the 210s or 212s. Some of the Super League clubs are not going to like it because what the metrics say is, for instance, I'll just use it, and this data's out there. For instance, a Bradford, they're getting more than a Salford, a Wakefield, a Huddersfield, even a Toulouse. So, for instance, you do have a Leigh, for instance, as well. They're another one that better than a couple of Super League clubs. It's got to be fair. You can't just penalise the Championship clubs and not the Super League clubs. So hopefully that happens. But in terms to your question, Pete, look, everybody's struggling. The clubs are struggling. I spoke to one Championship chairman last week, and he was under no illusions that the hard reality of running a rugby league club with these conditions, coming out of COVID, crowds are down, there's a little bit of support of malaise. It's a tough ask. It's a tough sell. How sustainable is it in the long run remains to be seen. Said chairman said, he's had to put about 60 grand of his own money in this year just to sort of keep things ticking over, to make up a shortfall when the club might only have one game in a month, a home game in a month, which is the case. Because what's really frustrating for me, and this is a slight criticism of the RFL, the Championship this year has just sort of spluttered along, bang, 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 then it has a week off, bang, bang, week off, bang, 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 when you're playing the Thursday and the Sunday. And then as we've just found this weekend, we've got another weekend off. That's a huge missed opportunity. I don't know why the RFL have allowed a blank weekend, because the crowd at Warrington hasn't sold out, so it's not like the demand's there for this England Combined Nations All-Stars game. And when there's no football on this weekend, this weekend, it would have been fantastic. No Super League. Why not have it as like they do in football? This is what I've actually said to Ralph Rimmer this week. Whether Ralph wants to take it on board for next year, I don't know. Ralph might not be there because we know they're going to appoint a new independent chairman overlooking the sport. But my argument to this was, Craig, football, they've got non-league day where there's no Premier League, there's no Championship. Everybody goes out and supports the non-league. And this is my argument, what I said to Mr. Rimmer, was, Ralph, the sport has dismissed, in my opinion, a glorious opportunity this week where you've no Super League, you've got the International on the Saturday. Imagine a Championship fixture on the Sunday. Let the Super League fans in for a fiver, for a tenner.
Yeah, great shout.
Something like that. Yes, it's a bit of a gimmick, but look, in terms of Pete's question, look, the clubs are struggling. No word about it. And as I keep stressing, when the RFL announced the remodelling and restructuring, which I'm led to believe will be not next week, the week after, before we hit July, the proverbial's going to hit the fan, because the clubs are going to take a gamble. We know Widnes, based on what Widnes are doing for next year in terms of their recruitment. York, we know clubs are going to be opening the chequebook. Keighley, for instance, in League One, Joe. We know clubs are going to be spending money.
Because they all want to get into Aladdin's Cave, don't they?
I agree, Craig. I agree. And like I was saying to Joe before we started this show, if you factor in, let's just assume Toulouse go down. Right, let's say Lee go up. So you've got Toulouse and Featherstone in the Championship. They're going to be spending serious amounts of money next year.
Yeah.
You've then got Widnes who are throwing money at it. Keighley. Don't forget, only 7. So only 7 are going to be going up automatically. And so you know, if you assume Newcastle as well, obviously we've got a few questions about Eamon O'Carroll and Newcastle and the mess there, which we'll address in a short while. But if that's 5, and before that's without even talking about a Halifax, a York, a Bradford, a Barrow, a Batley. So the pure Sheffield, the pure maths tells you, Craig, there's going to be 3 or 4 big clubs, established clubs, whether that's a Bradford, a Newcastle, a York, a Halifax, a London, who will not be getting into that Super League, and that's the worry, you know.
Can I just stop you there? And great points, by the way. But a text of Derek, our friend the D. I'll not read it all because there's some stuff he has a bit of banter privately. But just watch your show around driving around Leeds for 59 minutes. Had me, I'm not saying pissing, but kidding myself. What a good value show. Great lax banter. And if you ever need me to come again, please ask me, and I would be delighted. You don't need to apologise about the academy. You know, we didn't know that. He's put a load of content, but what he's actually put, Mick, is, and this is for you. He's put all the. Mick got last week's thing wrong. 1 place 2 for a place straight in the final. That means that Lee'll play Fed, and then Lee'll go to the final if they beat Fed.
And it'll be hosted.
Fed would then have to play a semi-final. Yeah. And then come back to play Lee the week after. So when we're saying the favourites, if you think about it, if Lee beat Fed, and
finish top, they've got home advantage.
And then they've got home advantage.
Yes.
Fed would then have to go to York or go to Halifax and then play a week after and try. So the odds are whoever wins that first one,
correct,
historically are probably 1 to 50 to win the.
Yeah.
You get, I know it's happened, but I think you said it was straight into the final. Derek said.
No,
you say that.
Yeah, no. Look, if I've got confused, I apologise, Derek. But yeah, like I said, that's why that game on Monday night. I know Brian McDermott's trying to downplay it. Yeah. You know, it's how we finish the season. But Lee, for mine, are going to beat Featherstone at the Summer Bash. Lee are probably not going to lose another game this year. Well, they might do when they come to Wadsall a week on Sunday. Only joking, Derek. But look, the fact that Lee beat them at Tottenham, they've beaten them at that home game, they've got that momentum behind them, and I don't care what Featherstone fans say or what Brian McDermott says, that does give Lee a massive psychological advantage, because they beat them twice now, they're comfortable. Look, Adrian Lamb, Chris Chester, they're not going to allow any complacency, but they know now, pound for pound, Craig, they can beat Featherstone. And like I say, whoever finishes top in the Championship, they get that home advantage, like I said last week.
No, you didn't say, Derek said.
No, I said last week, all the routes to Super League will go through Lee. I said, whoever finishes top, you're going to have to go to Lee at some point and beat them. And that's why it's important. But yeah, no, listen, Derek, thanks for watching the show. And if you're driving around Lee in your Mercedes or whatever car you drive, your Beamer.
It's a Lamborghini now.
Your Lamborghini. Oh, yeah.
I think we went to see Derek once at the office, and I think I'm trying to work out where Derek's car was and where I could park, and I just seen a big red Ferrari with Eggsy on. I thought, well, I think that's Derek's car, in his business. But
Joe, on what Pete said about League One clubs and Championship, what are you picking up? Because we know you're doing a lot of deals for Championship and League One clubs. From what I'm led to believe, some of them know the 210s are coming and they're spending the money, like your Keithlers and your Widnesses. Others are a little bit apprehensive.
Yeah, I think you've answered. I think you've given my answer to the question. Yeah, I think it seems like some of them are still, like you said, apprehensive over the fact they probably don't want the 210s to come in, so they're waiting, hoping something changes. That's what I get the vibe. I've not had that said to me directly, but it just seems that way. 'Cause some of them, I'm obviously doing this podcast. From what we're all saying, is it's here. 210s is here. Maybe 212s at a push if they change something, but it's here. And so I'm speaking to the clubs saying, "Come on, let's go." And some of them are still holding back a little bit. I think hoping for that not to probably come true. And then, like you said, there's a couple others who are just going, We're off.
Somebody told me yesterday that IMG hadn't, at this time, hadn't been to see the clubs. Somebody from Champ 1, I'll not mention who, said to me, you can't really talk about this yet, Craig, because they haven't been to see any of the clubs individually, which they were supposed to do. So it looks like somebody's got a lot of work to do in a short amount of time.
Correct.
To get all this put together.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, if the clubs haven't been personally talked to them about what's going to happen, and when they're saying personally, it means usually when you're personally doing that, you're breaking bad news.
Correct.
You know, it's never... You do joint news when it's good, and everyone's like, yeah. If it's about, as you drop a player at football, rugby, anything, tennis, you do it one-on-one because it's easier man on man. If you're giving good news, you'll find people like to be around people because they want the toffee. So I would say it'll be pretty tough news for all of them what they're going to say, because if they do it personal, it's tough.
Well, imagine, you're an Andy Maisie at Rochdale, you're Damien Irving at Unsley, Eric Perez at Cornwall, and they're coming to you and saying, look, there's going to be 2 10s. I mean, the clubs already know this because the RFL at a meeting, Craig, have already showed the clubs the blueprint and how it's all going to work. You're going to have a top 7 from the Championship, and then there'll be a playoff involving 8th, 9th and 10th, and the top side in League One. So, you've got a situation where a lot of those clubs next year, Craig, are going to have nothing to play for because they're going to be like, well, we're going to automatically, by rule of thumb, be in the unfunded 3rd division. And, Ralph has said, like I say, I keep stressing, I'm very privileged from the clubs that I speak to who tell me what gets said in these meetings. And right at the start of the pandemic, I can't reiterate enough, Ralph Rimmer told the clubs, not everyone in this room is going to make it. The sport has to restructure, reform, regenerate, revitalise, those big buzzwords what Ralph and Simon Johnson like using. And unfortunately, I think Ralph is right, I think IMG's right. You're going to have to try and streamline the sport to something a bit more manageable, and certainly something that is going to drive some growth, because at the minute, you can look at the table and go, we've got 37 clubs, isn't it fantastic? But far too much baggage. And I never thought I'd say that. You've got to try and deliver something that is marketable. I mean, at the present, it's a bit of a mess. Let's be brutally honest.
Well,
it's a mess. The sport isn't going forward, it's going backwards. We're not even stagnant anymore, Craig, sadly.
I'm going to challenge you on that, mate.
No.
We've done this show for,
Listen, I'm not being negative for negative's sake, Craig, but I don't see how the sport...
I thought this
The sport will always survive. The sport will always survive.
Let me finish. I thought we started this year the best with. I thought the bounce and the enthusiasm was the best I've seen since I've been here.
A lot of people
I think we've hit the plateau. We've hit a plateau without doubt. This last 4 or 5 weeks, people are like, oh God, the fixtures are mundane. It's him v him and it's that v that, and it's not playing for nothing. So we're not in the playoff situation yet where people start to get excited. There's not a relegation battle yet. Them games are to come, but I thought we had the best start and the best marketing start to a season I've seen since I did this. We've got the World Cup coming up. I'd like to see loads more on the World Cup.
Yep.
I've got thousands of friends who are saying, I'd like to take a rugby league game in. Please get that out there. Please, every day, the rugby league website and the rugby league social media print off footage of all the teams, Papua New Guinea, Tonga, and show some clips and put their fixtures in where anybody can go watch. And you should run it 24 hours a day. It'll cost nothing. And every single fixture put up and put some footage behind the fixture and roll it. You ready? Yeah. Roll it. So every minute somebody can go on, #rugby league.
But they only need someone to, what other sports do, don't they? They could literally have someone talking over, playing the clips of Fiji. These are Fiji's top players, watch out for these, bang. Oh, they're against Samoa in the first game. This is the highlight. These are the Samoan players that will rock it in the World Cup. How do you think they will compare to that? And then everyone watching it normally go in, when they do it for other games, sits there and go, oh God, that's going to be exciting.
Well, listen, we've not mentioned Jaques O'Neill, and we're not going to get into it because Mick's not a fan of the thing, and it's not. We're letting Jaques roll his own boat, but one of the things they could do if Jaques comes out of there, one of the first things is get Jaques to a little bit on the World Cup. That'd be my first thing. Is saying, look, you've got a lad here who sounds like he's doing. I don't do social media. Sounds like he's doing all right. Get Jaques and get Ella. Get these people to come out and try and get a new market. But what we've got to do is roll. We've got to roll. Every single fixture list, what's on there, 1,000 times, Mick. I want people tweeting into us, Mick, saying I'm sick to death of seeing World Cup.
Yeah.
Do you know when you've done good marketing? When that happens, I'm sick to death of seeing that.
Yeah, because
that's what you want, because it means it's out there on every avenue.
Yeah.
They've got to get terrestrial TV behind it. ITV or something. We're going to find a way of getting something on terrestrial TV as well, saying advertising.
Channel 4 taking any of the World Cup games?
No, it's all on BBC. All on BBC.
Yeah, well,
sorry,
Red Button, the women's, every game's covered online.
We're going to say things are coming.
Brilliant.
BBC have got to go out now and say things are coming, this and get it absolutely. We should have all the stadiums half full, if not full, ticket-wise, in next 8 weeks.
Well, it's interesting, Craig, on the ticket prices. I mean, again, I don't want to be negative for negative sake, but we're on a press call on Thursday with John Dutton, and one of the key questions I'm asking John is, from working in local radio, is like, we did a poll and we asked about the ticket prices. Some of them are 50, 60, 70 quid. Now, to a working class man, to take his family, to go to Newcastle to watch England v Samoa, Craig.
That's one special occasion. Come on.
Well,
if you're a young kid and you get to World Cup once in your life, come on.
Well, listen.
Hey, I had to take this to
if
Wimbledon.
I'm wrong, listen.
You go Wimbledon.
I agree.
Let me finish. You go Wimbledon. You go British Open.
No, I agree, Craig. I agree.
Here's one for you. We've got Ticket Master. We've got ticket people. We used to call them ticket touts in the day. But it's now online. It's professional. Get them involved, Mick. They can shift 200,000 tickets in days. These are doing all your marketing for you. Everybody needs to be involved in doing it. Everybody. Even we've got the best promoter of music. I've said this before, I'm sick of saying it. In the world. Who owns Warrington?
Simon Moran.
Why are they not going to Simon and saying to Simon, how do you shift that many tickets for concerts? Liam Gallagher is just on Liam Gallagher at Nebworth.
Nebworth, yeah. Sold out. Tickets going for crazy.
And they built it up that good that when it went out, they had to put another 2 days on.
Yeah.
Because the tickets were that mod, right? But the way he sold it back to where the Oasis are coming back after all the years, people were like, oh, they're not seeing Oasis, they're seeing Liam. No one there. But the sell were brilliant. Get his advice. He's sold out more shows than anybody in country. Come on. Let's get some live bands on games, Mick, after games. Here's one for you. I went to Joe Cameron. We went to Royal Ascot last week, and we wasn't in the top hat and tails. We couldn't afford that. And well, we could, but we didn't. We went into a new end. Here's one for you, Mick. This is true. And I've watched how racing's changed, and it's changed so much. So we've then gone. We didn't have to wear our top hat and tails. We went in our suits, and it was a very hot day. So when we got there, we're around the side of the course. This is how racing's changed, and I've been going for 25 years. It used to be very stuck-up racing. Royal Ascot, you'd be there, you wouldn't be allowed to have a laugh. It'd be very walking round, bit of drunkenness and a bit of this, but your experience wasn't top class, only the horse racing. It's the Olympics, yeah? We get there, there's a DJ in this massive acre of things. We pay for all the corporates. We've got drinks and all food, but it's tapas-style food. So every half an hour, there's 10 people walking past with some sausages, and you've got chickens, and so it's tapas. The drinks are flowing, the DJ sets on. The racing's the second thing. You're having an unbelievable day anyway. We can't say that about Rugby League, Mick. We know it because we did the 2 test matches at Liverpool and Ellen Road.
Correct.
And I've never seen any. There were nothing outside. There were nothing in.
Yeah, there were nothing.
It was the worst atmosphere I've ever seen. We had to walk at Anfield down that street. 50 people having a picture, having a laugh. It was just it wasn't that type of experience for me. Yeah. Whereas at Ascot, these are some of the richest people. They've changed, Mick. They know the working class people bringing the 100,000. Cheltenham's the biggest thing now in the world. The biggest race meeting in the world's Cheltenham. Do you know why? They've made it feasible for people to go and have a good laugh. They've changed the way they think. They should be watching racing. Rugby League should watch it. Honestly, RM were packed on it. You said to me on the next day, it's the best day I've had, Dad.
Yeah.
It's the best sporting day I've ever had, Dad. That is the greatest day I've ever had. We've actually got a video of Joe. Joe got that drunk. Just a little story for you. We took a professional. He's a Welsh lad. You know him, called Calum.
Yeah.
He joined Champagne Charlie. He's not a professional punter, but he's a very good punter.
Yeah.
So he came along, and we had a great day. We had a I'm not going to mention his name. It's unfair, but one of our friends is like a barrister, very posh. He was Mick at 6 o'clock. They had some plastic horses up at Ascot. You got a chance to get your photo took. He sat on one of them and fell over and broke them all. The barrister, Mick, with his. He then walked up and went to the DJ set after the racing. and again, I'm not going to quote his name because it'd be totally unfair, but he was a bit sick, Mick, and his legs were wobbling, and we had to get him home in the taxi. Long story short, we get back to the hotel, and this originates from Doncaster, Mick. I've been known to do it after a drink. You have a running race, somebody will call you a name, you say, well, I'm faster than you. We end up, in the old days, it might be a scrap, but nowadays, so Joe goes, Callum says to Joe, I can beat you over 100 metres. And Joe me went, no, there's no chance, mate. I played tennis 4 years professional in America. I was the fastest at this. But at this time, they've had 13 pints apiece, 2 Zambucas. Joe was on the vapes. He don't think I know. Joe's popping the vapes everywhere. And I'm thinking, I've clocked that. So they get the race. And then if we can show it, Sam, I might give you the footage of the race for a bit of fun for everybody afterwards. They went at it. And Joe took his shoes off. Callum's got loafers on. And the bang. And it's Nick takes £100 this. Just at the line, Jomi, instead of putting his head down, Jomi he went like that. And the Welsh wizard just dropped his head and won the £100. Jomi was very sick and went to bed. We had to take him to bed. It took a lot out of it. But back to the experience, Mick. It was a fantastic experience. We've got to do that at the World Cup. Get the marquees outside. The only problem was we're in the middle of November. Innit? That's another one, innit? So do they put the marquees inside the stadiums? Or I don't know how they do it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like at London, we used to have the bands in the stadiums. Yeah. So you go in and they had an area and they put the bands on and they'd have all the big pots up here and they've got to please think outside at box. Let's get some bands after thing and thing. Even if they do it on pitch, even after pitch and say everybody, there's a big band World Cup. Let's have a bit of a festival. Yeah.
No, listen.
If they allow that, that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Why won't they allow it?
Ruin the pitch, I imagine.
Well, inside the stadiums.
But I know the World Cup's still a few weeks, months away. But if you're watching, let me know, and Craig and Jono in the comments. Have you bought any tickets for the Rugby League World Cup? If you have, happy days, fantastic. If not, was price a factor? Because I'm picking up from regular Rugby League fans that the ticket prices are too expensive. And I know I've heard what you've said. The World Cup, it's the first time it's been over here for 9 years since 2013, and it's probably going to be another decade till it comes back. So obviously France will host the next one, then it'll go back to Australia, then it might go to America before it comes back here again. But this is just something that I'm picking up from a lot of rugby league fans, working class individuals. They can't go because it's too much. But
I'll leave it on this one. I'm gonna count you as that, because when you say things like that, you mean yourself as well. I know you do, because you've got that. So instead, let me just put a picture of you on Saturday, Sunday night. Instead of sacrificing 15 things, hats on, dancing in the middle of Bradford, what's it called, Acapulco. You're giving it all this, spending 50 and 60 on drinks 6 hours.
Whoa.
Sacrifice one night for World Cup, Mick. Sacrifice a night.
Yeah, I'm going to be going to the World Cup, Craig, so...
sacrifice a night in Acapulco.
It's not the Acapulco, it's the viaduct.
Yeah,
Joe's been in viaduct.
Been once.
Oh, yeah. Chewy used to go is it where Chewy and them used to go to Acapulco?
No.
Briggett, isn't it?
Briggett in Leeds. No, there is the Acapulco in Halifax. Yeah, Chewy goes
used to go there. Is it all you can drink for?
No, you pay. It's 75p a drink. In fact, let me
75p.
Yeah,
let me tell you. I don't want to be giving the Acapulco
That's
some
unbelievable.
advertising, but the amount of rugby league players I see in there, Craig, all the Halifax lot are in there, and yeah, I won't name names, but let's say a couple have been disciplined internally for wearing club polo shirts in the Acapulco. So, but no, we're going to carry on. Kirsty says, thoughts on the mess at Newcastle Thunder. Eamon O'Carroll has resigned from his position at the club. Are you surprised about this move? Could you see it coming? I'll just be quickly on this.
Well, it's not you're supposed to ask us.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. We'll start with you, Craig.
I've never known compare. Say a compare.
Right.
All right, I'll answer this myself.
I'll just keep quiet for the rest of the show, Craig. I'll read the questions out.
You've got to go back to your end.
Yes, okay. Over to you.
Joe.
Oh, we're starting with Joe.
What was even the question?
The question was...
I'll answer.
The mess at Newcastle. Could you see Eamon O'Carroll going? Is he the fall guy? Who's done the recruitment? Who's made such a mess of it? There's a lot of Newcastle fans that have asked the same question, so I've condensed it all into one.
I think it's a tough answer, that. I think whatever they've done, we can all probably admit it's not gone right, has it? That's obvious statement. It's not gone right. They're not working. They've spent... How much are they on budget?
600?
Maybe more, by Dad's face. they've had a nightmare, haven't they? They've frankly had a nightmare.
They're spending the third most in the Championship behind Featherstone and Lee. And I know, like you said, Craig, and Jimmy said, very like London, you've got that weighted wage, but they are spending the third highest spenders in the Championship.
So the third highest spenders...
And the 10th in the table.
10th in the table, they've had a nightmare, haven't they? So it's one of them where do you either all decide, you know what, we've got it wrong, but we're all going to learn together, or do they appease the fans and do they make a fall guy happy? Do they give a fall guy? I think Eamon's ended up being the fall guy. It's tough, innit? Because when times get tough, they can stick together or they can fall apart a bit, and it seems like they're falling apart. We've got a couple of people in and around there that we're friends with, and I think there's one thing that is sure, there is definitely there's a lot of tension, and I think with that tension, someone's had to take the blame. It's ended up being Eamon. Whether it is Eamon or not is that they'll know themselves. But have they got the players right? No. Have they got other parts of it right? What's the crowds like?
The crowds, again, stagnant. They've had a couple of...
But that all revolves around the performances. If they're winning 10 games on trot, you get better guys.
Agree. They get just over 1,000 a game.
It's a simple one for me. Yes, they've got it wrong. Is it Eamon's fault? John's probably right. Probably not. He's probably been part of that system. Dennis and Eamon have recruited the club. The clubs have made the club the players available, the funding available. I take a little bit. You know, I feel a bit guilty. I said this. I'll say it publicly. You know, we sent Sam Ellis and Thomas Minns down, who I thought, along with Mitch Clark, Alex Foster, that's the type of player they're wanting. We've got Connor Bailey, Lewis Peachy, who are not on massive money. But Thomas lasted 4 weeks, you know, with the travelling. He didn't realise how hard the travelling was. And I think they had Thomas down as a big signing and he was going to be this. So I should have done more due diligence with Thomas. So I take that one on the chin. The same with Sam. Sam went down an absolute storm there. Loved him. Lasted 12 games, 10 games. And the last 6 weeks, Sam was... You could tell he was panicking, Mickey. He wasn't enjoying it, you know. And so that took a massive... Poor old Eamon and Dennis got the back of that. Them lads go in and decided that's not for them. We need to get better at that from our company. We don't want to be sending any players to Newcastle unless they're all in. We cannot afford to do that anymore. You know, we've got to get that right. And that goes for every agency. That goes for every player. You go to Newcastle from now on. You decide whether you want to go there for right reasons. Don't go to Newcastle because you want to go party.
Or the money, yeah.
Or the money. The two things. You want the lifestyle and the money. No, go there because you want to play for a great club who's on the way up. You want to play for Eamon Carroll. You want to play for Dennis Metz. That's how I see it. Jordan and them work so hard at that club. You know it. We all know Jordan. I've never seen him. One of the top 3 I've seen him. Absolutely loves the club, loves the passion, loves rugby in the North East. But even Jordan will losing his hope. I could see it in his voice. I'm thinking, Jordan said, you know, have we done the right thing with academy? We're not getting that many players through. Have we done the questioning everything that's happening. The one thing they can't afford to lose is the owner.
Correct.
Because the checkbook, contract, you know, if that goes, it's all over.
Correct. This
decision will be made to keep him. The poor old owner will be going, where are we going with this? I need answers. Eamon's been sacrificed as the first answer. The next answer will be Dennis.
Correct.
Dennis is now in the hot seat as coach. Yeah. But he recruited a lot of them players. If Dennis gets some great results now, he might say, look, I told you, it probably just needed me there. He's very close to Eamon, so I suppose that's going to be our friendship. And I know it works in rugby league. You said to each other, it's not a problem. It is. There'll be a little bit there. It'll be Dennis has kept his job and Eamon's walked away. So that'll have to, you know, you can see that. But Dennis, if Dennis gets the results now, Mick, you know, he can probably say to the owner, it does work. We just needed to do this, and I've come in now and I'm going to sort it. So massive for Dennis. I just question whether Dennis is age and where he's travelling from. He has a business in Widnes. He has his life there. He travels through on a Wednesday. I think he'd have to be there 5-6 days a week now.
Correct.
Because the job's that big for what he's going to try and do. So it'll be interesting how it turns out. And we all want this. I'm sure we can all say this. We all want the North East to be a fantastic franchise, along with York and a load of others. We've got to get them through, Mick. So everybody out there, let's get them through. I think the loan deals haven't worked, bringing in players for 1 week. There's been a travesty.
2 weeks.
Complete travesty. I think not having enough experienced players who played Championship is always hard. That's not quite worked. The ones who've dropped from Super League have not quite done it. They've not quite been the players they should have done. So put a mixture of everything in, Mick. And at the moment, Newcastle this year, 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10, but they've got a chance to put it right. Who have they got this week?
Workington.
What a great chance. Here you go. Dennis probably couldn't have picked a first game better.
Correct.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
If Eamon said he were good, he'd probably say, go around that time, son. Give me this week to get into him, and I can start off with a bit of good news.
Yeah.
But all good lads. Eamon, very hard working Eamon. Good luck to him. I think he's going to go to another club, I've heard.
Yeah. He's going to be picked up. Yeah.
He's already. I think he's already. There'll be something there that'll.
Oh no, he's sorry. What I meant to say is he's left knowing he's got a job at a Super League club as an assistant. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So Eamon can crack on with his journey. Dennis has got a big challenge.
Yeah, my own thoughts on it quickly, Craig, and we touched upon this last week. I don't think coming out with not so much outlandish, but we're going to win Super League by 2030. This puts a whole heap of pressure on the
Warrington Hull sort of thing we said
on the organisation. Yeah. I know a lot of Newcastle fans. They're very good friends on Facebook. They're always messaging me of hearing about this player and that player. Look, they care deeply and passionately about the club. But when you're coming out with statements like that, it just raises the expectations. So that when you have a season like this where you're spending third highest in the Championship, and we know about the waiting, because obviously you've got to go up to Newcastle and you've got to potentially have a car and accommodation. I don't think it helps.
It's strange though, because other sports do that, don't they? Other sports players travel. I think it might be controversial to say, but I think rugby league players are very home birds, aren't they? I don't know if that's.
No, agreed.
They're very home birds, aren't they? They stay in their town. They stay in where they've raised, and I think.
But we don't attract that player, Joe. What you're on about, a kid who can travel wouldn't play rugby league.
I get you. So that's
unfortunately.
So then, how do you answer the London
you're not
and the
recruiting
Newcastle?
In private school. You're not recruiting in lads who've been on holiday all their lives to Saint-Tropez, and they've gone Antigua, they've gone travelling. My friends who went travelling around Australia, New Zealand at 16, 17, they wouldn't play rugby league.
I get you then. So then I get that, but then how do you answer the Newcastle-London one? London have similar issues, don't they? Where
how many of ours go? Let's be honest. How many of ours go university?
A couple, but not many.
How many percent, Mick?
Not the start. Not the
of players.
Yeah.
You're probably looking at 10-15% max.
Who then go on to play rugby league after uni?
Yeah.
And how many go to college?
Well, the York, a lot of York people do, don't
they?
Yeah,
the percentage will be low, won't it?
Yeah.
So our lads are probably thrust at 16, 17 straight into the game. So they probably haven't had the life experience of what you're on about, where they can say, I can travel. They probably never have travelled.
Yeah.
They've probably gone from their house to training. And from their house to training, holiday once a year with a mum. And they only go on holiday probably a lot of times when season's finished. So probably your life experiences and Mick's life experience of going on all the journeys Mick has everywhere a lot of my lads wouldn't ever.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I always notice with lads, and this is not a thing. They'll say, we're going on holiday." They'll meet it. They'll go and meet. They'll go to somewhere, and then they'll go, he's going there. When they get there, they're all looking at each other out bar, and I go, "Is that not the worst thing ever?" They go, "Yeah, but where do we go in October, November?" So they're all booking the same bloody hotels. You won't believe me how many times they ring me. They go, "You not believe I was here?" And I go, "I am." You've done it for 15 years. It'll be 50 rugby league players staring at you when they have the midweek break. Midweek break. I've had 10
Lanzarote, Tenerife, they all got
the same places. You don't believe who's here, and I go, "Here I am." They're all looking at each other again. So it's a very, that thing would be hard to try and, say, get this world travelling kid who's going to be able to travel.
I get it, but
the Aussies do it better than us.
Yeah, they will travel, but Leeds to Yorkshire to Newcastle, we need to get a way of maybe encouraging the players to do a bit of travelling, a bit of seeing the country, a bit of that. Because in the grand scheme of things, that is not a far travel. I'll argue that with it. That is not a far. It shouldn't be a far travel. In anywhere else in the world, that's a tiny trip. I shouldn't say it, but the Americans laugh when I say, 2 hours. That's a long drive.
Well, what Joe's trying to say to people who are listening is Joe probably played tennis as well, where they would go
4 or 5
hours on a minibus to play tennis against another team, but they wouldn't think, bad, that was normal.
Yeah.
They might stay overnight, they might not, but that's normal. I suppose Joe's right in a way that a lot of players wouldn't think that's...
Because they're used to a 30-minute, 40-minute drive, not 2.5 hours, 3 hours up to Newcastle.
I'd love to do one here. Let's do a poll for rugby league players, and you're a big fan of the trains in this country, Mick. You're an advocate. I've just started getting used to it on trains, and I found it amazing. I can't believe.
Well, you won't catch a train today. There's a train strike.
Yeah, but I've waited 30 years to be comfortable getting a train, which is very sad on me. And I did it. I'll tell a little one because people have asked me about we did the Lewis Dodds negotiations, and through whatever reasons I didn't have a car. And no, don't. And
that's going on serious about rugby league.
Oh no,
Callum Walker.
So anyway, I'm said, I'm gonna have to get some trains. So I've got the local train station. I'm not mentioning it because I don't know I'm on the local one, and I met my way there with my bag and my office.
Well,
stuff.
you've gone from here to Leeds.
Anyway, so then I've gone there, and then I've got to Leeds, and then I've gone from Leeds, and I've got to Saints, and then at Saints I get off. But I've had a lovely hour. I've had my coffee. I've read my book. I've done a bit of business. Nowadays you can put the mouthpiece on and you can get your business done. Obviously people are listening. Be careful because I did that other week, and somebody goes, "I'm a rugby league fan." I'm like, I'll call him Mick Gledel. No. So we gets to the taxi, and I get to the train station. Taxi comes. It's 2 minutes. I'm sat in office. Has a 2-hour negotiation with Mike. Mike looks at me like, "Where's your car?" He goes, "I'll come and walk you." I said, "Oh, I'm not in the car. Unfortunately, I'm not in the car." He said, "Well, that's the train station." I got back within, let's say, a 5-hour journey. I didn't feel tired. Like when I drive, I feel so tired. I didn't feel frustrated and stressed because I'm in M62 traffic. I felt well watered. And honestly, Mick, I come back, I was buzzing. And I was like, why have I not done that before? Now, we could ask the rugby league players in this country. I'm telling you now, I know this for exact. Ask them how many of them have actually gone on a train regular in UK. Yeah. I bet we'll be down to 5%, 4%.
Correct, yeah.
Because I can get 3 players on now who've probably never been on a train. I could say, have you been on a train?
Correct.
No.
They've grown up with cars, yeah.
Well, and like Joe said, they probably just shuttled from. It's weird, isn't it, that, don't you think? Some of these clubs could be near train stations within 2 minutes. You could get used to, like they did in London in the day, you get the Leeds station at 8 o'clock, you'll be in London at 10 o'clock, whatever, 6 till 10, you do your work, you come back. Easiest process in the world. Yeah. But I tell you now, I'll have a bet there won't be many who'd ever got on a train anywhere.
Wow.
And answer me this. When the club are going away from down that 6-2 and you know there's going to be traffic,
yeah.
Why have we never used trains with football teams? Is it because of the hassle they'll get?
I think it's cost, Craig. Sadly, it's cheaper to hire a coach than a carriage. Like the Premier League football clubs, they travel exclusively.
Could they get a deal, mate, where they could, if that happened, you know when you've said it, clubs are a nightmare.
One thing that always amazes me is Northern Rail is an associate sponsor of Super League and the Championship, and let me tell you, I have never ever once seen any marketing or branding or tie-in. Yeah, I get the odd email.
Everyone can use.
Well, again, you know,
rugby league season ticket holders get a discount.
It just amazes me. I think a sponsorship like that is a bit of money, Ralph. Bangers on. So it looks like they're supporting the sport of the North.
Right. There you go.
But what I will say on the back of that question, Kirsty, it's interesting times because to tie in with what Sam and Andy have said, like, what are Bradford's plans for next season? Will the budget be increased like everyone else's? Are the club actively looking at recruitment? Well, what we can say on the Bradford Bulls is, yes, they are. Joe, you'll confirm, in the process of bringing in external recruits. So Bradford are bringing in new faces for next season. So whilst there is no current permanent head coach, I'll ask you why you're laughing in a minute. While there's no current... Okay, why are you laughing?
So you're making championship now. You just look at Joe. Or do you mean I don't like to feel I'm
Craig?
I'm still the lad on the street.
Yeah. No. We'll get your thoughts on it. But we know after this weekend's game against Dewsbury.
I feel like when Roy Keane said about the prawn cocktail brigade, you put me in.
Sorry, Craig. Sorry. So to answer all the questions on Bradford, okay. Mark Dunning's going to have an interview next week after the Dewsbury game, as are the other coaches, and I'm led to believe at least 2 coaches from other championship clubs are going to have an interview. There's also some other names which may or may not be a surprise. I don't think it'd be fair for me to say. What I will say is I did see a championship coach not so far from Bradford the other day, and we had a very good chat. He reckons he could turn it around at Bradford, and he's hungry to do it. So we'll see.
Brian Noble again?
No, he's not a current Championship coach. But look, Craig, they're going to do the. I spoke to Nigel. I spoke to Jason at the recent game against Sheffield. They're going to do the interviews starting Monday after this weekend's game. Mark Dunning, quite rightly, he's got an interview. We know Mark's in the process, and quite rightly so.
We thought last week we fought his corner remarkably. Well done, all of you.
Yes.
I thought Mark deserved a chance on what was said, so he wanted to, that's a massive thank you on everybody who.
No, I will always stand up for
Jimmy
Mark.
Mack never stood up for him, but
listen,
did.
Craig, I'll always stand up.
Claimed he did yesterday.
I know I have a very personal friendship with Mark, but as I said to somebody last night when we were talking about this late on the phone, just quickly, Bradford, they've gone to Whitehaven and put 30 on. They've gone to Widnes, they've put 30 on Widnes. They've gone to Sheffield, they've put 30 on. This is all under Mark Dunning. If you isolate that Featherstone Rovers result, which, as we already said on last week's show, the show before, when they're doing 1.1 and Bradford at around 350, that result speaks volumes of where the clubs are in terms of what they're actually spending, full-time versus part-time, or Featherstone, as we know, do have a couple of part-time players. But in terms of the recruitment, Andy and Sam, yes, Mark Dunning, Nigel Wood, Jason Hurst, they are currently doing the retentions and recruitment. So that might give you an idea, or might not give you an idea, of where they're potentially heading in terms of where the club's going.
Joe's got his foot on the table.
Sorry.
Well done, Sam. You said to us earlier on, I make sure, and Joe...
Craig, okay, just quickly. Obviously, we've spoke about Newcastle. We know Widnes are spending the money. We don't want to keep talking about Bradford every week, but
no,
they're asking about the They're asking about the recruitment, Craig.
That's just your friends again.
No, these are people who watch the show.
Yeah.
I do actually see them on the terraces at Odsall, but yes. Just quickly, Craig. Bradford, obviously we know there's external coming in.
Listen. I'm not going further than Mark Dunning. I think he's the right man for the job. This is what I think they'll do. I think they'll give Mark the job, and then they'll advertise it out next year when the big money's coming. I think Mark will take as a bit like Rowan Smith. I look at the Leeds situation and think of Rowan, and I think Rowan's a really quality person, got a real quality, and very encouraging what he says about rugby. But I think there's a holding method in some clubs, and I think Leeds have not got much cap space. They're capped up for a couple of years. Who can come in and handle a cap without wanting? Some coaches come into a club, Mick, historically, happens in football more than rugby league. Give me 10 million. Harry Redknapp, they reckon, won't go anywhere unless you said you've got 30 million. Sam Allardyce, how much you got? 30?
It's like 200 million.
Yeah,
now,
you know
isn't
the
it?
score. Some rugby league lads, if I was advising coaches, which I do, which I have done, and I've said, send me the recruitment, if you can, send me what you've got. And I probably said, don't take that job, because there's no room for manoeuvre.
Correct.
I think Mark Dunning's on a little bit like that, and that's why I think he's the right man to secure that. And I think Rowan Smith a bit like that at Leeds. I think he's the right time. He's a blend of bringing youngsters through. There's not pressure. He's not, you get a big personality, Mick. He's going to challenge Gary Etherington. Gary, where's the players? I want 2 world-class players here. You get me that. I want extra this. I want extra that. I can't see Rowan doing that. I think Rowan will try and work what he's got and bring. Yeah. He's brought the French. Has it been announced?
Yeah.
Sakari. That'll be a budget prop. Who's got a great chance. I like him a lot, but he'll be pretty cheap, pretty good money, and Rowan will try and work with players like that. But I think there's not a demand on him of you hiring a top dollar coach who then goes.
Well, Nigel? What are you giving me to spend? We're giving you we're giving you 350. You're probably spending
and
fifth
probably
or sixth in the Championship.
Thank you, not for me.
What is Bradford's best asset over the last 10 years?
The academy, 100%.
The youth.
And Mark Dunning and Lee Bateman.
Mark Dunning there?
Exactly.
And as the greatest commentator in rugby league. But what is Bradford amazing at?
When I'm not criticising Ralph and Karen.
They've got.
Sorry, Ralph.
They've got youth, and I'll tell you what, they've got some good kids coming through again.
I agree.
And you can't have a coach that doesn't believe in you if you're at Bradford Bulls. And I think Mark Dunning is the man for other reasons, but that one for me takes the takes the cake because he has led them academy players. There's some brilliant players. There's a couple that have made the Yorkshire v Lancashire team for this week.
Exactly, yes.
They'll be playing, and I tell you what, some of them won't be playing. They'll be starring in that game.
No, I agree. I agree.
Is that shown this time? Can we watch that this time, please?
No, it's still not. No, it's.
Sam, can we get in contact with RFL today and we'll tell them we'll do it? I promise you, I'm not just saying it. We will fund that if they let us in. We'll do a full commentary like we did years ago.
I know it's heartbreaking, Craig.
Well, email why don't you get something about it with you mate Ralph Rimmer? Why don't you do something about it?
Well,
you quote Ralph every week and yet you don't do anything like that.
Ralph's actually at the Bradford game on Sunday.
Oh, brilliant. What, because he gets the old meat and tater?
No. He's,
no.
No.
Let me Stop. Mick, Sam, Mick, more on you here. Can you put an email into RFL and say, we will commentate on the Origin? When is it? Saturday?
Next week.
What day?
Sunday. It's going to clash with a Bradford game, so I'm going to be out.
Sorry, no, it's this Sunday, isn't it?
This Sunday.
Forget about all that. I'm at Glastonbury.
But yeah.
Mick,
me and you could do it, pal. I'm willing to do it.
Listen.
Mick, don't shove me off.
He don't pay enough the other way, does it, Mick?
It doesn't matter. It's Bradford Dewsbury, big game. Liam Finn's first game in charge as well. But yeah, just a quick final point on the Bradford thing is, like you say, Craig, 100% spot on. You know, if, as I suspect, the budget is still going to be very tight and squeezed next year, we know clubs are going to throw money around. We know Widnes are one of those that are throwing money around in terms of their recruitment, hence why they went early and appointed John Keir. A very shrewd move, which could pay off if Widnes do get in the top 7 and they're in the 210s and they're in Super League in 2024. But yeah, you're right. It's no good Bradford appointing a Tony Smith, a Brian Noble, if the budget isn't going to match their aspirations with what they want to work with. I've said this to Nigel openly. I said, Nigel, the only way you're going to try and salvage anything from this season, and I'm not saying it's a car crash season yet because there's still, Mark Dunning, if he is given time, which I think he will be, to turn it around, there still could be top 5, top 4 in the playoffs and a chance, in a one-off game, which is the best Bradford can hope for, by the way. And that's not me, being negative towards the Bulls. But ultimately, you have to ring-fence that academy. You've got to promote the youth. And that is Bradford's most valuable asset. As we said on a couple of shows ago, when we went through the Widnes players, like Sam Walters, who played for Widnes, who come through the Widnes Academy, because Widnes got rid of their academy, they've now lost that conveyor belt and that pathway for young products. Bradford have to, and that is one way they'll galvanise the fan base, is having your Miles Lawfords, your Harry Greys, your George Flanagan Juniors out there on the field.
Listen, a good
one. Your next crop of stars.
Saying about Mark is we threw some names to Mark a couple of weeks ago, and one of them were a young lad who was at Super League, but he's not going to get a gig at Super League next year. I'm not mentioning his name; it's not fair. This kid's got loads of quality, Mick. Loads of quality. Lovely hands, nice depth of pass inside out. He can play long, short. He can kick long, short. Could be a top player. Probably needs to learn how to communicate, how to be vocal, how to be... the score. He came back straight away and said, if I get this gig, I'd like to bring him in around our club. I love what he does. I love everything. There's not many coaches do that with us. They don't. They still got their own egos. And the first thing they'd say is, have you got a 31-year-old? Do you know what I mean? They'd want an experienced player. He didn't. I was like, wow, he got a chance. Because you're thinking outside the box. You're thinking of saying, would he... Now, you might get some stick and say, was he? But actually, if he's thinking along them lines, right up my street anyway. Yeah. Right up my street.
No, fantastic. And
he's
just
not playing square rugby.
No.
He's not playing,
I agree.
20 fans say,
like I say, Craig, we've all been advocates since we started this show from day one. We would rather see young, homegrown talent out there on the field than...
Well, not just...
They do compliment.
Let's get into it. Even the names, it's very frustrating. So frustrating. If you said to me one thing I want to change about this game, it's bollocks. We get a big name, and regardless of whether he's going to be effective, that club, the fans love it. It's a short-termism. Brilliant, whoa, boom, boom.
Well, you've only got to look at Josh Reynolds.
Well, there's hundreds.
Championship do it more than anyone, Mick.
There's hundreds, Mick, and all the fans, yeah. And then 4 weeks later, they're going, well, we don't look that good. And then we're like, well, who have you signed?
Yeah.
What are you thinking? You've gone for all right, Mick. When you're hungry, Mick, have you ever been on a diet? I'll put it to you. I think you both have.
I try.
Or you both need to. No. We all three of. All three.
Whoa! We both need to.
I'm on a diet now.
Yeah.
So
You're on a no carbs diet.
I'm on
Yes.
no carbs. So look, think of it. This is how I see it. As that. This might sound ridiculous. Have you ever been on a diet, Mickey? You've been watching your weight, right?
I have done, yes.
And you've had 10 or 12 pints, right? And you've got kebab shop on left, you've got chicken shop on way on, but you're on a diet, right? Might be a McDonald's.
You just said a diet and I've had 10 pints.
Yeah, forget about that.
Yeah,
I don't count them. They're not allowed. So we're stood there and you walk down,
Just lost
right?
his argument there,
But you see these fast food places, but you know...
Not lost...
Let me finish. You know long term, Mick, that's not good for you.
Correct.
But short term, that kebab with doner with chili does a job. McDonald's, 2 McDonald's, 25 nuggets. And you know them nuggets are worst thing for you, it will, but you go and eat 2 boxes because you
Not
eat
the
20.
10
I've never done
pints.
2 boxes. I've done a box of 20.
There you go. But you know it morning, how do you feel it morning when you wake up, when you know you've given it some hammer, you know you've ate too much, and you think...
You feel absolutely...
You feel dreadful, don't you?
Oh, what have I put in my body?
I feel that with some short-termisms in the rugby league. That is exactly how it feels to me. How you feel it
It's
morning
a good analogy.
is when I see a player signed and I see all fans go, oh, wow, he's played here. No, think you're better than that. Rugby league fans are better than this now.
Yeah.
Got to get better. Let all football and that do that. Let all more have little excitement. Let's look at what's best for club.
Yeah, no, I agree. Emma says, I need to be
By the way,
careful.
I've done all 3.
Emma says, Craig, what are your thoughts on... Well, look, Emma, we don't know where Alex Mellor's going, so we can't answer that one. Emma says, Jack Broadbent to Castleford. What?
We've just said then.
Why, what?
Miller,
He said doesn't know where he's
what
going.
time's this going out? Wrong answer. Go on, next one.
We're not answering that. We're avoiding it.
We've got to now. I've just said what time's going out.
Well, that was you being daft.
Well,
You'll see what I'm saying.
Leeds have
No.
Leeds.
He's not said anything.
Yeah, as he's asked me about Alex Miller.
No, he hasn't. You've not listened.
Emma's hearing Alex Mellor's not getting a new contract at Leeds. He's going elsewhere.
Yeah.
So she's wanting to know her thoughts on that, and she's also wanting to know about Jack Broadbent.
That's it, yeah.
How he's
Yeah,
been.
but then you missed what Mick
This is
said.
not going out. This is going out later on. That's your clue. Jack Broadbent, I think's already. I think
Is it
already
Cass?
done.
Yeah, they've announced it. They put it out yesterday. Leeds. He's gone to Cass. He's going to Featherstone on loan for
They
the
didn't
remainder of the
announce
year.
the Cass one.
He is. He's going to Cass.
They didn't announce that yesterday. They announced him signing at Featherstone for the rest of the season.
Well, I don't know what I read. I got sent something and it said he'll be a Castleford player in 23.
That was the tagline for the news, wasn't it? That
Well,
was
look,
was the rumour.
Anyway, we'll give fans a chance to watch the rest of the show, and by the time this is shown tonight, you're going to look at it and go, "That's what they meant." There you go.
There you go. Emma, sorry, we'll discuss it next week. Craig will talk about it because he is Craig's player. A few months ago, you mentioned about a third French team entering the leagues. Shabba, yeah, that's died a death. Purely because the Super League chairman, they want to control the money. And Derek, you know what, Craig? Ask Derek if he'll come on one week, because Derek actually made a very good point, and I don't want to go into it too much because I think we'll get Derek's views and opinions on it, but there is a growing movement, and I've said this for a couple of weeks now on the show, a growing movement for when restructuring and remodelling comes, that your Toulouse and your Catalans will not get any central funding. They'll be told, effectively, you know, this is our Sky deal, our broadcast deal, you go get your own and fund yourself. And the more I think about it, you know, whilst under the current T's and C's and the contractual agreements that Toulouse and Catalans have got currently with Super League Europe, I do kind of subscribe and agree with Derek. Not just because it'll benefit a Lee or a Bradford or a York or an Halifax in terms of giving them more money, but if Catalans and Toulouse are told to stand on their own 2 feet, go get your own broadcast deal, that's then going to put them into action. That's then going to hopefully see BN Sports bring more money in, which they will then control their own money.
If they do that, it's get a contract and a good solicitor that says, if we get our own TV deal,
And it is...
and it gets eventually better than yours, you can't come and take us.
Exactly.
They're going to cover the sends at that side. So I know how our clubs work.
Yes.
They got a good deal. They'd want a finger in that pot as well.
Why don't you? Why can't we just all have it in the same pot and get them to get their own TV deal as well, and then that improves the money for all Super
Because
League
they're
sides
saying,
as well.
if you think about it deep, Joe, they're saying Toulouse and Catalans don't even have Sky. So why
They don't sell the Sky dishes. Yeah,
No,
that was
so
Derek's
why?
argument. That was Derek's
I get
and
that,
Michael
I get
Carter's
that,
arguments.
But I get why don't? How is it that hard to get a French deal? Is it that ridiculous?
No. That's what they're saying.
At
I think if Sky allowed it, and Sky allowed the French to go and get their own, but they don't get a slice, or they might get a small slice of the games they play in England on TV. But then they say, right, But you are free now to your own broadcast deal. Sam along with this better than us. They could work themselves off and say we can guarantee that we've got 2 games every 2 weeks, so they could have a game on in France every week.
Correct, because you'd have Catalans at home, then Toulouse, bang, bang. So it's always on TV.
Every week you've got it on, and you could sell all these. You could say to a big station over there, we can guarantee you a game every single week, and we can do a preview show, we can guarantee this. I reckon they would generate good if they can get the fans into it and they can get the media into it. And they played, so then they could play that, and then they could offer a playoff, whatever situation, maybe. I believe if we let them have it, yes. They also deserve a small slice of the cake because their product in England's very good.
Correct.
Catalans come into some clubs, people want to watch Catalans. People say, oh no, they don't improve our gate. I disagree. I don't mind watch Catalans when I go and watch. Toulouse, I've not seen Toulouse, so that's my bad. They do offer something to the comp, without a shadow of a doubt. I think they can also generate Toulouse. I've been told 3 or 4 times, that's the 5th time you've yawned now. Every time I look around, you're yawning. Sam, can you dock his wages? The people are watching, the hundreds of thousands watching on media and all these going in.
It's because it's an early start, but we'll forgive Joe.
I think it can work, and I think they could make it work. Let Toulouse have another year, and then if it splits up, say, yes, go and get your own TV deal. I'd love it, Mick, if they went and got a better TV deal.
I agree.
If they went and got rights in Australia to their game, and Australia went, yeah, we'll buy a bit of that, I'm sure they can do it.
Tom says, any news on Leeds? Not much cap space.
I met Rowan recently, and there's not a lot of cap space now, and that's not me talking out of turn. That's not selling Leeds for brilliant. I think where they are, I think they could be. I tell you what they could be. There could be some player movement.
Yeah.
I think there could be some player movement because I think Rowan, to free money up, has got to do that.
Move players.
To get his own players in. Yeah. He needs his own chance. Don't judge Rowan Smith on Richard Agar's players.
Correct.
As we didn't judge Richard Agar on Dave Furness players, we can't judge Dave Furness players on Brian Mack's players. Historically, you've got to be judged on your own players. So please give Rowan a bit of patience if they go on a run. But he's got to be judged on his own players. And the only way he can free money up, Rich had a lot of money. Rich come in and he could do a bit of moving. Can't remember Dave Furness, so I'm not going to talk. Rowan's got to probably free 400,000 or 500,000. Well, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Do you know how you do it if you're watching? You have to do it by taking some players out. And you offer the clubs them and you say, look, do you want to cover his wage? We'll chuck 20 grand in, you can have him for 60. And that's 60,000 over 2 years. They've got 120,000. That's how it works. They might have to sell it. They might have to sell a player. I don't think they will at Leeds. I don't think that'll be their thing. But I think... Now, your problem is at the other side of the fence, if you've got a player, and I'm not going to mention his name, but let's say we mention a player at Leeds, 160 grand, and everyone else has valued that player at 90. You've either got to decide to put 70 grand and tell him to leave, and you've got him at Cass for 90.
Yeah.
But Cass has sat there like, well, we only value him at 80, we know you're going to 160. So that's the game you play. There's not very often you get an undervalued player offered to other clubs.
I've always wanted to know this question, Craig, because we see reports of Huddersfield still paying players at other clubs. How often does it happen where, let's just say we've got player here at Leeds Rhinos and he's on 160, like you've just said, other clubs value him at 90. Does that happen more times than not?
I can tell you now exactly. I can tell you exactly, without being personal. It'll happen reverse with Salford. Salford will be the ones who are getting under cap. Huddersfield historically, got a few wrong, and they've got it right now, by the way. I love Gary to bits, but I can't see Gary paying wages to play at another club. Historically, probably 1%.
Yeah.
Warrington, I'd say Carl's quite, I'm saying this in a nice way, he's quite tight. Carl's quite reluctant to do that, even though they have made some shocking, in my opinion, some bad signings over the last 5 or 10 years. I don't think they'll be too reluctant to cop in. I would say Saints.
No.
Very rarely get it wrong. Cass, Mark, he's tighter than Cramp. You've not if Mark paid a player to go somewhere else, well, anyway, I don't want to say, but it just would not happen. I think it'd make him bad if he did that. I think that'd be the worst thing. I love Mark.
I'd say
so it's not many clubs who actually.
I'd say the same for Michael Carter at Wakefield.
Yes, 100%.
Listen, I've been with Michael in his office.
Now, should they? There's one for you. Should they do it? Yeah. Some of them should, because they've got players who they don't want. I reckon Radders has got 5 players he don't want at that clubs. He's got 5. I could mention 4, but it's not for me to. And he'll go to chairman and go, mate, I don't want him. And Mark will go,
And these are players that were obviously brought in before he took over the club.
So this is how it'll work. Mark will go in the boardroom, which is in the Castle where you ate 4 chickens next to Mare. He's sat there, and she's never had it since. She sat there, and Mark will say, well, you've got to keep him. And he'll say, what do you mean? He'll say, well, we can't afford to get him. Unless Radis can bring a club who will pay full wages, Mark won't let him get rid of that player. He'd have an heart attack. It just wouldn't happen. It'd be palpitations. I would actually do it. I think if you get a signing wrong, my advice to anybody out there, if you get a signing wrong, cop it straight away and get rid. Because that nightmare inside your system, if you don't want to play him, he's going to be a nightmare. Most of them. There's not many good people who get not selected who go, hey, thanks, Joe, you've been brilliant not selecting me. Usually, if he's not your player and he's the old coach's player, there'll be a friction. You don't want it here.
So is that why Huddersfield are maybe doing it right then? That Mick said there's a couple that Huddersfield are doing it for. Is that maybe?
I don't mind it at all. 100%. I know he wants
rid of the ones
Ian
they
Watson
don't
went aboard. He went, get them out. That's me. I want them out. Richard's job to get them out. Richard were willing to cop a bit.
Yeah.
To do it.
Well, that's brilliant.
And now Huddersfield, as we know, 4th in the table, just a couple of
points
behind St Helens. It's part of that progression. So that answers that question.
Here's one for you, Mick. I suppose in that one, the most famous one in a way, not famous one, but I thought the UKR, when they got halfway through that season, got George King, Dean Hadley and Jez Litton. That's what I call business.
Yes.
Halfway through a season to get the clubs to do a deal on 3 players, which ultimately kept UKR, helped to keep UKR in the division, and then went on to kick on to be the players they are. For me, that was sensational business.
Right, I'm gonna bring you from an elevated high.
Joe was thinking, why is that just done that?
I'm gonna bring you from an elevated high to an elevated low. Lee, big Cass fan, says, what on earth is going on with Calum McClelland? Will we see him play this year? Also, Craig, any Castleford transfer news? Yes, there is some Cass transfer news, but later on.
The first one's gone. The second one, listen, we all want Calum, don't we?
Where is he, Craig, in his rehabilitation?
Well, you keep telling me he's eating chicken and...
he's currently, I think he's currently abroad on holiday with his girlfriend, Chloe, so that's what the Instagram gives away.
Well, I would say he's gone there hard training. No, listen, cut a long story short, I think Callum's got about 4 weeks left of his rehab. He's running again. He's nearly at full tune. I don't know if they'll risk him this year, Mick. I've got to be honest. I don't know if they'll just get him fit and let him maybe play a couple of reserve games and start again pre-season next year. I have a feeling that's the plan.
Right.
I don't think they'll want to push him and risk him. I think if they get him played a couple of reserve games and then straight into, Callum won't be allowed a holiday in October. I've got a feeling there's a Callum, no holidays here, kid. You're training straight through.
Yeah.
That's probably why you see them on holiday now, because they know they've got a programme coming. That's it.
Sensible approach, I agree, when you look at forward planning, Joe.
Yeah, very much agree. Obviously, you don't want them coming back too early, do you? That's one where has it happened recently in the NBA? There's big news about them making players play when they're injured and it ruining their careers. Famous happened with Isaiah Thomas at the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant. Stay patient, because you've seen him at his best. We've all seen the highlights. We've all seen the Scotland try. We've all seen him play very well. And if you give him patience, what are Cass looking to do this year? Maybe make the playoffs. That's their amazing. That would be a brilliant result. But if they don't, it's not the end of the world this year. But if they get him right for next year, maybe they can make the playoffs and maybe make a statement in there, pull off some big wins in them playoffs, in the quarters, semis. Who knows? But I think patience is a virtue, and I think if they give him time, he'll get right and he'll be bouncing for next year.
Robbie's a concerned Whitehaven fan. If the 210s, 212s come in, what little hope is there for my club Whitehaven to compete if clubs like Keighley, I presume he means by what we discussed on last week's show, are going to be matching a Bradford in terms of financial spend? You're very close to Whitehaven. I'll let you answer, Joe.
Yeah, very close to Ash, speak to Ash. He watches the show every week. He messages me every week.
Thank you,
Ash and Andy Canavan, good guys. Thank you, by the way, for the hospitality recently at the Whitehaven Bradford game. The burger van didn't turn up. I was heartbroken. They said, here you come, Mick. You can have pie and chips. Thank you, Ash and Andy. Listen, Whitehaven, great club, by the way.
Great club, great people involved. It will be tough. I think they know it'll be tough. There's no I don't think there's any kidding when you speak. They're not acting like they don't know this. They know it's going to be tough, but they're going for shrewd. They're going for shrewd, smart signings. They're getting. I think they're going to bring in some people that shock you. Maybe some imports, maybe some young lads, and I think they're going to try build a squad based on chemistry and put a lot of effort into it. I've heard actually. I'm sorry, he might tell me off for this, so I apologise, Ash, if this isn't meant to be said, but. He's actually done Dad's approach that he mentioned a couple of weeks ago. The whiteboard, he got the whiteboard out, get every player, say which positions they need, which ones, and they've done it
Is that what they've done up at Whitehaven?
That's what they've done. Yeah,
here's one for us if you're watching, and Joe's right. Brilliant that you've done that. Ash, do Joe a video of all what you can offer it if you come to Whitehaven. Do a small video of Whitehaven, the facilities, the out area, the accommodation. It'll help us as agents to sell it, and they can see it. Not very many times you can get a player to come over and say, "Oh, go over to Whitehaven and have a look round." Do a short video, get it to Joe and me, and then we can get it to some players. We want to help. We think you're good guys.
That's a good point.
I would do that anyway, because they can't just go and see what it's like. But if you do a small video, I think a lot of overseas clubs do it for me. Where they'll do a little short clip and they'll say, and then maybe speak to some players who've left Leeds or Lancashire to go play there. So how's it been for you? You know, Calum Busting, God, he had the best experience at Barrow that he did in all the clubs.
Ash, get the drone footage of the Whitehaven Marina.
Bless you.
Must be. Craig, before you go, just give them quickly 30 seconds. Tell them why you're going and what's running this afternoon. I know they can't back
it. I'm going racing. It's Brazen at Coya. It's in the first race at Beverley. We're going to have a go at it. It's currently trading at 8-1. There's quite a few Super League people there. I can't tell you who. In all areas, and we're partying in Beverley. So,
that's Mr. Fuelis then.
Well, it's more than Mr. See you later, guys.
See you later, Craig. See you later. Well, there you go. Craig's departed. He's off to sunny Beverley for a day at the races. Can't be bad. But yeah, Joe, just on Whitehaven, when I was up there at the recent Bradford game, I spoke to Ash, and you're right, they're under no illusions. And Robbie, you know, this is the gamble a lot of championship clubs are going to make next year. They are going to have to decide, is the gamble, you know, do they genuinely believe and put the faith in the coach, the players, the recruitment strategy, the pre-season, everything that's going to transpire in what is going to be a very chaotic 18 months for the sport once the RFL and IMG finally announce this remodel and restructuring vision. You know, because like Ralph has said, and I keep reiterating it, I don't want to come across like a broken record, but Ralph has told the clubs 18 months ago when COVID was, the pandemic was at its highest. Not every club's going to make it, and you look at a Whitehaven and you look back to what they did last year, and obviously they're doing it tough this season. But you know what I love about the Championship is the unpredictability in that. You know, yes, you've got a couple of constants, RE. You know, a Batley always punching above the weight. You know, a York there or thereabouts. We know last season York didn't make the playoffs. We know Newcastle, obviously, they thought they were going to be in the playoffs this year, but sadly they've not kicked on, whereas a Barrow have. And you're going to find that next year. I'll say this now. You know, you could have a Bradford spending an extra 100 grand. You could have a Halifax pumping in another 80 to 90 grand. You're still going to have a couple of surprise package teams. And that's the worry for your Bradfords, your Halifaxes, your Yorks, your Widnes, in that because you might have a Barrow, you might have a Whitehaven, you might have a Sheffield who achieve above what they're spending.
Yeah.
And because there's going to be so much on the line, you've got to be above that cut-off point to stop yourself being in that unfunded third division. And what I mean by unfunded third division is, you know, there'll still be money because you'll still have home games, you'll still have commercial sponsorships, you'll still get money from the Challenge Cup, but you're not going to get the central funding, you're not going to be attached to any return on investment. And I know you can argue for some League One clubs, well, we'll only lose 20, 30 grand. And that argument is quite valid, but if you're a big Bradford, if you're a big Halifax, a Widnes, and you're going to be losing 160, 170 grand, then that is a lot of money. Yeah. And somebody at those clubs has to put that in, whether it's Nigel Wood or Phil Finney and the board at Widnes. But yeah, so hopefully, Joe, Robbie's kind of like, yes. Are they busy, Whitehaven?
I think they had their meeting, they had their board meeting last week.
Yeah.
So from this week onwards, I think they're starting and they're going to think they're going to get on the board very soon. I won't be surprised.
Well, there we go. Adam Johnson's asking about any new signings for Huddersfield Giants. I don't think they need to make many, to be honest. The way everything's gelling this year.
Yeah, their issue will be keeping them all.
Exactly.
That's how good they've played.
Retentions, more money. I can't see there being wholesale changes at Huddersfield. Like we said, previously on this show, Ian Watson now his third season there, his second full season. That's the process that it has taken Ian to get to. For Huddersfield to obviously be appearing in Challenge Cup finals, to be in the top four, one of the favourites to get to the grand final, potentially even win the Super League in a one-off game against St Helens or Catalans, or if they meet Wigan in the grand final again. And, for Warrington fans that watch this show and kind of despair with where Darryl Powell and Warrington are, that's the template. Craig says, Fitzy, Simon Moran at Warrington, they're not going to panic and they're going to basically try and follow what Huddersfield have done in that Darryl's come in and I think Craig hinted last week, 8 to 9 players out, 8 to 9 players in at Warrington.
I think he's just going to get his stamp on it, Darryl, innit, and give it a go, his style. I think he's like we said, he's got the players that some of them they've got in, they're old style, they play a different type of rugby, and I think Darryl will get all the players in that he likes and make sure he attacks it, and they'll give it the best go, obviously, possible. And I think same with Huddersfield are just a brilliant team. They don't need to. I know, obviously, fans. I think that's probably, no offence, that's probably maybe part of the issue that fans have in rugby league. They look for these headline signings, look for these Twitter. You know what I mean? Dad calls it Twitter rugby, don't they? Like he just said it there. They look for that. Where if you look at Huddersfield, they probably don't need that. They probably just need to get a few new young lads, bring some young lads through now to replace maybe the 28, 29-year-olds in 1 or 2 seasons, get some young lads through who are rock hot, and keep that stability. They don't need to bring in a new massive player to get rid of maybe someone who's good for the club, get rid of them, and then no youth comes through because they've signed a good one at 27. That means 3-4 years until 20-year-old can ever make first team. I think they're doing it right. Let that progression happen naturally. Let them see if they sign an 18-year-old, if they bring through an 18-year-old. That should be yes, we brought him through, rather than oh no, we've not signed anyone. It should be that way.
Just finally, we got this message through from Chris Wall, John. He says, "Hi Joe, would love it if you could dedicate a show to the youngsters of the game. Yeah. Discuss your opinion on the scholarship, the system works as opposed to the old style where kids are just left in the amateur game till at least 16. Unless you really are elite talent and you get signed before that. Love to get people's, like John Bastian's thoughts. I'm not sure if I'm seeing it wrong, but there seem to be more local talent making first team squads with the old system, like at Hull FC with Cook, Horn Brothers, Fletcher, Yeeman, King, Washbrook, and probably more. Avid listener. I always catch up through YouTube. So Chris Wall, yeah, that's definitely a good point, and we will hopefully do a show like that.
Yeah, we're all passionate here about that.
I know Lewis Stoddard's just signed the extension at Saints. He's still on his recovery, but we are going to try and get Lewis on the next player Q&A, and hopefully Lewis can join us and we can get his thoughts on his pathway and young players. And Chris also says, with the new structure within the game, i.e. Super League 1 and 2, will it impact the National Conference Leagues and potentially give the top amateur side the chance to progress to the unfunded third tier? That at this moment in time is the big question mark, because all we know from what the RFL have shared with the clubs is you'll have a Super League 1, a Super League 2, and then you'll have an unfunded third tier, which probably will, potentially, it could have a Hunslet Club Parkside, it could have a Fatto Heath, it could have a Blackbrook, it could have a Siddle in it. We don't know the full dynamics of how it's going to work. What we do know is there'd still be promotion and relegation from the unfunded third tier to what would be Super League B, Super League 2. Again, look, all this could change if IMG decide to scrap everything and go down the licenses and franchising route. But what we do know is the clubs are preparing for 210s, as Joe
I'll just say, you missed out the first bit of the question about the scholarship. I think that was a good point that he's made, where there is teams like York. York have actually got the first player in the Yorkshire v Lancashire game he's about to play.
Toby Warren.
Toby Warren.
A good friend of mine, yes.
Big Toby. I love Toby.
Toby, if you watch the show,
one of ours, yeah.
Good luck.
He's one of ours. He's come through a different route, and he's come through the
college.
Yeah,
the college system.
The college, so it probably should be explored a bit more, the college system, because there's some people who didn't come through the rugby league, system, and we're probably losing out on quite a few because he is kind of right. There isn't other outlets to find many other players. I do like the under-16s. There's some brilliant. I watched Bradford v London. I thought under-16 scholarship on Wednesday.
Yeah.
There were some fantastic players on both sides of the pitch. I think London actually had to play a few under-15s for the games, and I actually messaged someone about a couple of them, and some of them were 15 and looked amazing, and then Bradford had some superstars, and I think I generally think that it is a good system. It's the clubs sometimes just get it wrong, and it's sad, innit? It's sad when they get that progression wrong. Let them play, keep rising up the system, get them games. What does everyone say? They need to play. I think over the last 3 years, the progression won't have looked as good because they've not played many games.
COVID and
reserves. Some reserve teams only played 4 games this season. So the chances of them moving up in the next year or so will be tough for them. So they'll probably have to drop down to League One and rise back up and take that route. But I think if we find a way to get them playing loads and loads and loads of games, which they haven't over the last 3 or 4 years with COVID, or 3 years with COVID, and that it probably not seemed as good as it should be. Give it a couple of years now. Let's get COVID. Let's forget about COVID. Let's move on. Let's get them playing as many games when they're not playing out on loan straight away. When they get back in reserves, and the more they play, the more they'll learn the game. The more they'll learn how to defend. A lot of defence is learned on the pitch. A lot of just the game fitness. A lot of players say who've only played the 4 games. I'm just not game fit, and it might be a bit of an excuse, but there is a bit to it, and I think the more they play, the more they'll learn the game, the more they'll learn what it means to be fit, and they'll go and we'll see loads of young kids get the chance in Super League.
Wow. We're going to debate this on a future show, but you've made some valid points there about Toby Warren and the college course, and obviously Barrow, they use Furness College, Halifax use the college course, especially for those clubs that don't have the ability yet to have an academy. So yeah, Chris, thank you very much for that message. We will debate it at a later date with a later show. Derek, if you've listened this long, the Championship restarts this weekend with Sheffield against Lee. That'll be a real tough game for the Sheffield Eagles based on how Lee are playing. You've also got Bradford against the Dewsbury Rams, Featherstone against Batley. Oh, that's a tasty top 6 game there at Post Office Road. Newcastle Thunder minus Eamon O'Carroll against Workington Town, who are literally in last chance saloon territory. They need to start picking up points fast if they're to avoid the trapdoor into League One. You've also got Whitehaven against the York City Knights. Interesting game this, because Whitehaven earlier on in the season, they absolutely put 36, 38 points on York, and James Ford was not happy with that performance. A tough place to go. I'll tip it here. James, we know you watch the show. I'm going to narrow Whitehaven win. That'll ease their relegation worries. And then we've got Widnes versus London. Another huge game at the bottom, because, Widnes, they're just in free fall at the minute. They're still stuck on 10 points. John Keir's yet to take over. And obviously London, buoyed by that fantastic win against the Dewsbury Rams. And all of a sudden, London go to Widnes on Sunday and get a result. They're dragging Widnes into that relegation battle because, albeit there's still 3 games, there'll be 3 games gap between themselves and Dewsbury. All of a sudden, London Broncos, they're a game and a half behind them. League One, of course, continues. Keighley versus Oldham. That's another top 6 game there. Cougar Park, North Wales Crusaders against Doncaster. Another top 6 game. Listen, these games need to be on TV, Joe. Get them streamed.
Yeah.
You've got
at least on the YouTube. What's the
Hunslet
YouTube
against
channel? The Sportsman. Why get them on the Sportsman?
Hunslet against Rochdale. I've just mentioned 4 League One fixtures there, and they're all top teams playing against each other. London Scholars against Swinton, West Wales against Cornwall. Monday night, Barrow against Halifax. That'll be a good watch. And then obviously the Super League returns. And this is the bugbear of mine with the loop fixtures. We've got St Helens against Leeds again, Warrington Hull FC. Obviously Wigan v Toulouse is one of the new fixtures. And Castleford Catalans, Hull KR Huddersfield. That game's on Sky on Sunday afternoon. So we've got a rare treat this weekend where we've got 3 games on Sky. And then we've got Salford against Wakefield, which is an interesting one because whoever wins that, is going to move potentially, if we can get the job done against Toulouse, 4 games ahead of Toulouse. And then it's basically going to be either Wakefield or Salford, who Toulouse are potentially going to catch. And I keep looking to the Magic Weekend at Newcastle, and you've got Wakefield Toulouse opening it up. And if Salford do beat Wakefield on Sunday, wow. You know what? I've looked at all the Magic Weekend fixtures, and we'll do a preview before it, and I'm just like, the first game on the Saturday, that's the one, because it's a relegation 4-pointer. Yeah. And we know Toulouse beat Wakefield in Toulouse the other week, and if they get another win, who knows? Sylvan Houlis and the Toulouse Olympic could perhaps spring a surprise and escape relegation. But look, the sun's shining. We're just gonna kick back with the sunglasses and get the cold beer out here at Show Me Towers, and yeah, we'll be back next week. Joe, what are you going to any games this weekend?
I actually am. Yes, I've got my American friends over. They're coming. They arrive on Thursday. I'm picking them up and I'm taking them to the very first. I wanted to say actually, I forgot. Wrong with me. I'm taking them to the very first Rugby League game. So next week on the show,
Which game are you taking them to?
I'm taking them to Hull KR v Huddersfield.
Wow.
And then I'm going to try get them to one of the youth games and let them watch some youth. Obviously, that's my passion. So I'm gonna try get them to watch a youth game with me. But we're 100% off to the Huddersfield Hull KR game, and I'm going to give you the report next week of what they think. One of them goes to Green Bay Packers most week.
Lambeau Field.
They go to Lambeau Field. Let's compare them.
Whoa. I'll tell you what, you don't want to go watch Hull KR Huddersfield. Take them to Odsel on Sunday, Bradford v Dewsbury. At least he'll feel a little bit home like it's Lambeau Field, them vast open terraces at Odsel. No, seriously, that's a good point for next week. I'd love to get their thoughts on Joe. That's your homework. Ask them about everything. The supporter experience, spectator experience going in, facilities. Even if it's negative, we want honesty. Yeah. This is a good little bit of research for the show.
Yeah. The only thing they'll probably struggle with, if I'm being thing, is that they have 100 plus thousand at Lambeau every week. So that'll be something they have to get used to. But
6,000 or 7,000 at Craven Park.
But apart from that, hopefully they have a great time. We'll have a good laugh. I'll take them out to the KR bit where they have all the bands playing, have all the things. I'll get them a couple of beers. I'm driving, and I'll give them a good time, and hopefully we get a fantastic report next week.
You know what? If you're getting the beers in, Joe, right, Bradford, get someone else to cover it. I'm joking. But no, listen, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for supporting us. We're now at 1,000 subscribers. That means Joe and Craig can make a couple of pound on the side. So fear not if you start seeing some adverts before the show. We are going to monetize it. We'll be honest with you. It might pay for butties and paper.
the chip butties at once. Yeah.
But no, listen, look, we love rugby league, and well done to England. All 3 England teams. The women with that fantastic win over France, and of course the wheelchair side who beat France 62 points to 48 in Manchester on Sunday. That game were on Sky. I saw a little bit of that and was rightly impressed. So yeah, Rugby League is back this weekend. St Helens Leeds Thursday, right through to Barrow against Halifax on the Monday. We'll be back next week. We'll dissect what's happened in the wonderful world of Rugby League. Craig didn't say too much, but Castleford have got a couple of big announcements to come in the coming days, or even maybe today. Who knows? The problem with Rugby League, Joe, is it's the worst kept secret. I mean, I was at Huddersfield versus Leeds the other Friday, and I'm surrounded by show me the money players, and they're all telling me where they're all telling me where they're going, who's going where, and I'm like, you what?
Lies again. No, not true. That one.
Until next week, good night, God bless. We're going to enjoy the sunshine now. I hope you do too. And keep it #positive Rugby League. That's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you.